it is easier than ever to win on YouTube. When you take YouTube Shorts from your Instagram account, TikTok account, and those shorts don't represent the actual content that can be found on your channel, then that's what's really destroying your channel.
Today we have a rare privilege of learning from the YouTube strategist behind Dave Ramsey and his media empire. How did Ramsey Network go from 20 million monthly views to over 100 million?
So really it comes down to a short strategy, and really it's 3 pillars.
This might be the best podcast we've ever had.
Our YouTube Shorts are only created from our top performing videos, and I'll quickly dive into kind of how we do that.
If you want to get more views on your YouTube videos, today we have a rare privilege of learning from the YouTube strategist behind Dave Ramsey and his media empire. Right now, just on YouTube, they're generating over 100 million views plus per month, and sometimes it's much larger than that. And then when you multiply the media across platforms, the numbers get crazy. But in this video, we're going to be learning tips that you can apply even as a small or new creator, as well as perhaps a business owner or somebody that wants to scale and grow a media company. And so I'm sitting here with Connor Wagner. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Sean. You nailed my last name really well. It's a tough one.
Well, I appreciate you. And we'll get a little bit into your backstory and your journey, but let's kick it off. How did Ramsey Network go from 20 million monthly views to over 100 million?
So it's kind of a long story, but and really excited to share the data behind it, because even I asked the leadership team, like, are we okay with like leaking this information out? Because I look around like, how's nobody else doing this? So really it comes down to a short strategy, and really it's 3 pillars, and I've written down right here. The first thing we do, which is crazy, that it's as simple as this, is all of our shorts are strictly made out of our top performing videos. So we'll use the Ramsey show as an example. So right now we publish 2 highlight videos a day, and that's around 60 a month. The vast majority of those are average, above average, some are below average. Whenever we look at our YouTube short strategy, we're only creating YouTube shorts out of the top performing highlights. The second thing we look at is each of those YouTube shorts is then linked to the top performing video of that YouTube short, if that makes sense. And then lastly, we're also looking at the swipe away rates, and we're making sure those are at least 70% or above. And I know that's really kind of tactical and in the weeds, so to speak, but
no, it's great.
That's our secret strategy.
And for people that might be new to this, there's a feature on YouTube Shorts called related video.
Yep.
So when you post this YouTube short, it's linking back to the full conversation in the highlight. Yep. And anybody that posts a YouTube short, you could link to any video really, but that's what you do there. And then you did say though that if the swipe away rate is underperforming, do you delete it? Or do you just try to learn from it?
That's a great question. And I love food analogies, so I'm going to hit you with a food analogy. So YouTube has made it very clear that when it comes to YouTube Shorts, it's essentially bridge content that actually is supposed to lead to your long form content. And so just like you get free samples at the grocery store or at Costco or your favorite location, you want the samples that you're giving out for free to really represent your best products. And those samples also need to represent the actual full product that people can expect from your YouTube channel. And so back to your question of swipe away rates, we're wanting to make sure that sample, which is the best part of our highlights, to have the best possible flavor or enticing to hook viewers, be like, hey, I want more of that. I want to buy the full product, aka either click the link at the bottom, subscribe, or watch the full version of the video. And so if you have that understanding that YouTube Shorts are basically samples of your content, the first step is to make sure you're putting out the best samples of your content out there. And so we track and make sure that over 70% of everyone who interacts with our content across the board is at least 70% of the time choosing to stop and watch our content. And truthfully, we're going to move that up to 80 over the next few months. And so we're never stopping and innovating in that sense. But when you kind of simplify it from a human behavior, all we're doing is putting out samples. And if you're going to do that, why not use the best parts of your content to do that?
What is the conversation that you're having with the team to get it from 70 to 80? What levers would you be pulling?
So one YouTube Shorts hack, and quite simple when you think about how you yourself or your audience interacts with YouTube Shorts, you're sitting there swiping. And on average, you're there for 1 second to 3 seconds. So one of the mindsets that I really have our editors take is, treat the first 1 to 3 seconds of each YouTube short you're creating as its own separate video, because that 1 to 3 seconds is the section where people are going to choose whether or not they're going to watch the whole short. And then that's where it kind of dominoes into, okay, after they choose, then hey, it's actually the best part of a highlight or another video you already published. And so the conversion rate from YouTube shorts to people subscribing and consuming our actual content is super high because of that strategy.
Now, I was watching some of Dr. John Deloney's shorts, and man, some of the craziest conversations that he'll have. But what I noticed was it's really just the clip. It seems edited up. It's intentional. These are crushing in terms of getting views. The related video of the full conversation that it's from is linked to that. But there's no call to action. Have you found that people just are going to find their way and that you save time, but not at the end having him or an arrow or something saying, you know, hey, go watch the full thing, because now that's watch time. Like, what is your thoughts there in terms of shorts and calls to action? It's really just the great clip.
So John has some amazing books. He's, you know, best time seller. As far as like products and CTAs, the number one CTA that we focus on network is like, subscribe, and share, or watch more. So one of those four, really with leaning on watch more being the number one CTA. We do have product mentions and things integrated within the long form episodes and descriptions. So we are pushing people to products, but really our goal is to nurture people and to help them grow and get to know John and the content and fix their relationships. In a way, it's almost like our video content is a product, and we just do a really good job of monetizing with sponsors, ad revenue. And then really, if they buy a book or use a service from us at Ramsey, that's really just bonus points. Because at the end of the day, we're just really trying to get the content from as many people as possible to help them with their relationship issues, their marriages, and so on. So hopefully that answered your question.
Well, that's very insightful, but I guess my question is not a call to action to a book or something, a call to action to the full-length video.
Gotcha.
It just starts and stops, as opposed to taking more time, which would be an audience retention drop off. So what would you, if you were coaching somebody else that's starting a YouTube channel, like if I had a short that was 40 seconds and I deliver the content and then I go, hey, want to watch the full video? Just click right here on the related videos.
So
that versus just the great clip that just ends when it's over or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of the things we're trying to figure out. Whenever we've tried to do custom, like, hey, if you like this video, click below on our long form highlights or shorts, retention just plummets.
Right.
And then we've also tried to add a little section that says click here for the full video, but the YouTube Shorts player across Android, Apple, different devices, and even on laptops, like that positioning moves. And so we're not able to really add graphics to say, hey, click here for the full version. That being said, we're still trying to figure out how to do just that, because I feel like a lot of people on YouTube still don't know that that's an option. And to that point where we don't necessarily rely too heavily on that link at the bottom of the YouTube Shorts, because what we found is people who consume our shorts and watch a few, the next time they show up on a homepage or they're watching another video, our actual normal content is suggested to them. And so I'd say clicking the link at the bottom is probably less than 10% of our overall traffic. It's people subscribing or getting our content suggested later when they come back to YouTube without even clicking on the link at the bottom.
That's a huge light bulb moment for our community, that we sometimes can get so fixated on, hey, click like, click subscribe, where really the modern YouTube form of subscription is consumption. Because if people watch your shorts and consume them, or binge a few, or watch some of your video, then you're going to start being recommended on their homepage. You're going to start getting more suggested to them. And furthermore, if you click subscribe on a channel that you're not consuming, it could get buried. It's not being recommended to you. So a subscriber could be overrated, but consumption is underrated, because then that just multiplies. You just keep getting recommended there. I'm a big EntreLeadership fan, and the YouTube algorithm knows I'm sure it's parsed that EntreLeadership's could be a different audience than some of the personal finance stuff or the relationship stuff. But I am consistent. I'm like getting ready in the morning or something, and the kind of thing I'll turn on is like, should I hire, or how do I fire somebody, or how do I have a difficult conversation? I want to hear Dave break that down. These videos are just showing up. I'm not going to my subscription feed. I'm not seeking them out. It's coming to me because the YouTube algorithm understands the kind of stuff that I like. So consumption is really what we want to be solving for.
Absolutely. And I think the subscriber totals on YouTube channels, like when I look at collab opportunities or suggestions for like, hey, who should we have on our shows? I very rarely, I glance at the subscriber feed, but then I go to another site like Social Blade or, use a plugin like vidIQ or TubeBuddy to actually go to that channel and say, hey, because it's like, followers on social media, if they're not doing anything or engaging with you, then they don't really matter. So I would say like, when you're setting goals for YouTube channels, even if you're starting out, like it may be like impressive in your mind, like, oh, I have 100,000 subscribers, but if only 1,000 of those people are actually consuming content, which is to your point, that's not really a healthy channel. So that being said, as a Ramsey Network, we actually really don't set goals for subscriber gains or things like that. We're really monitoring how many people are coming to us monthly. What's the audience return rates? Are they coming back every month? What's the click-through rate on titles and thumbnails? We really want to grow the reality of consumption and people, not necessarily vanity metrics, which I think subscriber totals are to that point these days, where it's not a true representation of what's going on a certain channel.
Agree. Now, you have over 400 YouTube shorts going out per month.
Explore Spring Style in store or shop online at alteredstate.com.
Just for men, mustache or beard. Brush away grays for your strongest, thickest looking beard.
Planning your dream vacation? The new Microsoft 365 with Copilot helps you stay right on budget so you can take the trip of a lifetime. Introducing Microsoft 365 with Copilot. More power to you.
Per month. How do you maintain quality?
Well, it's a lot of content meetings and performance meetings. So the beauty, like I mentioned earlier about our YouTube shorts, is our YouTube shorts are only created from our top performing videos. And I'll quickly dive into kind of how we do that. So across the board, we do have long form content, which is the full episodes of The Ramsey Show, full episodes of Dr. John Deloney. And you actually mentioned this hack at the conference in Las Vegas, which was fantastic. I was like, yeah, great. I'm glad somebody else is doing this. Is before, like, if you are a creator who's starting on podcasting and you have long form content and you want to get into making YouTube shorts or highlights for your channel, your retention data literally is human behavior, and your audience is telling you which parts of your content are good or not. And so when you're starting out, or hey, if you've been doing it for a while and you're like, man, which parts of like this episode are actually good, maybe delay the release a little bit of your highlights and release your full episodes, and then look at that retention data and pull and make highlights out of those sections. And so that's exactly what we do at Ramsey Solutions across the board. Is we release our full episodes, we look at historical data, and we also look at live retention data, and then we make highlight selection based off of that. Then when it comes to YouTube Shorts, we then are using highlights that have already been proven to work from full episodes. Then we look at retention data on the highlight level, the shorter form content, say, okay, where in these top performing highlights are we going to pull the best YouTube shorts? And we do the exact same thing where we're like, hey, here's the 3 areas where people repeated the most in this top performing video. Let's create YouTube shorts only out of that content. And so every single YouTube short you see us release, like 300, 400, we're adding more and more every month. So I'm even losing track of how many we're doing. Every single one of those is from a top performing video, from a top performing section in that specific video, from a top performing area within the long form content. So the goal for us, and really should be for any creator, is to remove any sense of guesswork. It's 80% of what we put out monthly. I can pretty much guarantee what it will do, above average, below average, because we've done it so much. And one of the misconceptions that people have is like, oh, channels who upload a lot, that's why they're winning, because they're uploading a lot. And I've seen channels do that and they just dive bomb. In reality, what high output helps you do is fail quickly. And as long as you're failing quickly and learning and changing and updating like what you're doing, that's really the secret sauce. And so while we upload a ton of content, a lot of the principles of how we're doing it can absolutely be applied to channels who upload weekly or twice a week or 3 times a week. And so if you're hearing that number and you're like, man, I don't upload anywhere near that many shorts or highlights or full episodes, just know the principles are still there. And of course, you talk about them all the time. So
yeah, I mean, 99% of creators are not doing that, and they need to start immediately.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the tools to look into for listeners is your analytics. You can see intro retention. How much are you holding in the first second? You can see spikes and dips. And what you're talking about is going to the spikes of long form videos, which takes 3 days to get the info.
Yep.
And then if you get those are your clips, then it's going to, you upload those. That's going to take 3 days.
Yep.
So you just broke down also, man, that's such a powerful strategy to be patient, let the data come back. And even small creators are going to get that audience retention curve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you can then go back, you find maybe a clip that you could repurpose and then a short that you could repurpose based on those spikes. Such a high level strategy. Now you're also posting a ton of YouTube videos with over 200 YouTube videos going out. How do you maintain quality? But first break it down. What are these 200 YouTube videos? What channels? What personalities? 200.
Yeah.
Like what's happening?
So the Ramsey Show, as an example, we do 2 highlights a day there. With Deloney, we're approaching 2 highlights there. It comes down to how frequently a certain channel or show releases full episodes. So the Ramsey Show, as an example, we have a weekly show Monday through Friday. So our ability to test things and fail quickly is a lot easier on that channel. Same with Deloney, the Dr. John Deloney Show. We
release live. So Dave Ramsey Show is live 5 days a week. How often is Dr. John?
He's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, full episodes.
So there's 3 full episodes. Are you saying over 200 YouTube videos are going out, just clips, or counting the live streams?
Counting the live streams, the highlights, and full
George
episodes.
Camel does proper YouTube videos.
Correct.
And Rachel Cruz does YouTube
3 a week.
videos. Yeah. 3 YouTube videos a week?
A week, correct. Yeah.
Like tips, sitting at a couch, like different, so they're all different styles throughout the different personalities. Okay. So add up all the clips. This is just long form. So live streams, clips, and then proper edited YouTube videos that are less than a talk show or something. That's 200 uploads. Okay. A month. How do you maintain quality on those?
So I've been here for 11 years, and the beauty is on YouTube, you have data for every single video you've ever published. And so I always like to say every single upload that you create is either steering your channel up or down. And that really keeps everybody on the edge of their seat, because you can't really relax, so to speak. Because, if you do a negative upload, I've heard YouTube say this is not the case, but I've seen it time and time again. If you do some weak uploads, the next one that may be strong is actually going to be impacted because, you do not maintain that consistency.
Graham Stephan just said that. Yeah, YouTube denies that. They say, hey, every video is judged on its own merits. Graham Stephan said YouTube is a momentum-based platform.
Correct.
So that's your last few uploads. I think he was also talking about shorts. And then I wonder if a lot of things maybe are a hybrid of the two. It could be, it's real people, that's audiences. So is it actually that YouTube is penalizing you, or just the last people that were clicking? If the last time they were kind of dissatisfied, or if they felt dissonance in your brand, maybe dishonesty or just clickbait. Well, man, you got the click, but you lost trust, so they don't want to click on your next video. Anyway, but in your opinion, would you say you have data that reveals that?
Oh, absolutely. And my team's job is we live in that data 24/7. It's our full-time job. And a lot of times, I mentioned that delaying your highlights and your shorts, we're to a point, because we have so much data, if we have a topic idea, we can literally pull it up and say, hey, have we done anything similar in the past? Hey, this is very similar to 2 other videos that performed well. Let's remix that. And I won't rabbit trail with this question too, but the AI tools, with even something like ChatGPT, you can plug in all your Google Sheet data for a channel, up to 500 videos, and you can literally say, hey, how did the video do around budgeting? Have I done any top budgeting videos recently? And literally have a conversation with AI to tell you, hey, yeah, I looked at the sheet. Here's some ideas. And then you can really have really good, insightful future content decision making based off of past performance data, to where you're not relying so heavily in the moment.
Are you manually doing these Google Sheets?
Oh, so I mostly download them straight from YouTube.
Okay.
Plug them in, and then let AI do the
Advanced
rest.
YouTube Analytics.
Correct. It's very advanced, and it's free.
But you go to advanced mode in YouTube Analytics.
Exactly, advanced mode.
To
To download.
your Google Sheets. And you upload your Google
Correct.
Sheets into ChatGPT.
Correct.
And ask it intelligent prompts.
Yes. So last month, give me the last 10 videos that had a click-through rate above 10%, or give me the last 10 videos I did last month. And you can that, because we're doing like hundreds of videos. Hey, that sounds familiar. Hey, did we do a video last month on this? And ChatGPT can tell you.
Jeez.
Let me show you a prompt real quick, and I can record it.
I mean, I don't know if it will show up on the camera. We can circle back. We can circle back to that at the end. But that is
Yes.
we're talking about advanced tips in
Yes.
this conversation. That is some next level stuff. So, okay, so you're talking about getting insights from the Google Sheets. What's warning? One of the notes you made was do what the top 1% are doing. What are the top 1% doing?
Yes. So early on, for the last 10 years, if you want to be the best, you need to know what the best are doing. For example, I like Dave Ramsey always gives an example. Like if you want to, lose weight and get fit, you need to hire somebody who resembles where you want to go, because you don't want to hire a trainer that's like, hey, I look better than you.
Yeah.
Like, why are you training me? And so kind of same that simplistic mentality of, man, what are the top 1% of YouTube channels doing? And so there's some large studies done by TubeBuddy, Little Monster Media back in 2020, and several other large companies. And the data has stayed to be true because I get to access a lot of channels and things like that. And really, the top 1% of YouTube channels really have three main data points.
Do you want to get your first or next 1,000 subscribers on YouTube faster? For the first time ever, we are hosting a free one-day event at videogrowthday.com. During this one-day online event, you will learn our step-by-step YouTube success system for getting views, subscribers, and making money. You'll get to connect with the Think Media team and be a part of community, conversation, and a bunch of cool giveaways. And you'll leave with your personalized YouTube game plan for success. So to register, just go to videogrowthday.com or click the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into the episode.
The first thing they do is they have higher frequency of output. So really around 3 videos a week, which I know a lot of YouTube creators are like, man, 3 videos a week, that's so much. But again, it's good to know, okay, like top 1% YouTube channels are really succeeding with 3 videos a week. And really the minimum is weekly. We can dive into, audience behavior, weekly rhythms and things like that. The other thing was the optimal length for those YouTube videos ranged from 7 to 16 minutes long. And some people are like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to start making videos exactly that length. And again, these data points aren't meant to be like, no, go do this. It's more of like, okay, that's good to know. Really, the main data point behind that length is that these videos were getting a 5 to 8 minute average view duration on average, which all that means is on average, viewers were consuming 50 to 70% of every single video that top 1% of YouTube creators uploaded. So in my mind, I was like, okay, if I want to grow and be, in the top 1% of YouTube channels, then I need to create content that where on average, everyone's consuming at least 50 to 70% of it. It doesn't matter if it's 30 minutes, 20 minutes, if it's within this range, that's good to know. But man, audience satisfaction is when people can consume the vast majority of the content. And this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And so it's data points like that as you're starting as a creator, or if you're wanting to speed up the growth of your YouTube channel, like keep things in mind of like, man, what is that experience like consuming Mr. Beast videos? Like, hey, all of those videos, I can guarantee you get over a 50 to 70% completion rate. But just having that mentality of I need to make my content as easy to digest, as appealing as what these top 1% of YouTube creators are doing.
I love that. And I mean, I think also the level of this conversation is almost like crippling to a new creator.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, if you dwell in this environment of like this podcast, this level of thinking, it's just going to level you up. It's going to stretch you. And it's all about getting 1% better
Exactly.
with every upload. But if you're learning from the top 1%, it's going to shorten your learning curve. I heard one person say it this way. It was like, if you want to become a millionaire, learn from billionaires, you'll get there faster.
Yeah, that's a great
And it's kind of like, even though it can feel unrelatable, what are the transferable principles that you could apply? There's this massive debate on YouTube about YouTube Shorts destroying channels.
I'm ready.
And you wrote down 5 mistakes.
Yes.
First of all, why do you think people are saying that or have that theory? And then maybe they might be making one of these 5 mistakes that's distorting their perception of what ruining a YouTube channel means. But yeah, what's your take on this?
So what I've seen, and this is by far the number one problem, and let me know if you see something else, is that YouTube Shorts, when it comes to YouTube Shorts, a lot of creators, they already have a strategy on Instagram, a strategy on TikTok, and the content they're creating for their social media platforms may not be the content that their YouTube channel actually offers. And so what they'll do, and this is easy, I was about to use the word lazy, but like the easiest thing is, I'm already doing short form content on these social media platforms. I'm just going to copy and paste and slap that over here on my YouTube channel just to take advantage of YouTube Shorts. YouTube has come out of the gates early, even before we even started, saying, hey, YouTube Shorts are bridge content to your videos. And even today, YouTube's like, hey, we're working on ways to help transition people from YouTube Shorts to your long form content or your normal form content. And so when you take YouTube Shorts from your Instagram account, TikTok account, and those shorts don't represent the actual content that can be found on your channel, then that's what's really destroying your channel. It's because people are finding your content. They're like, hey, that was a really great, funny video this creator made. They click subscribe, and then they access your actual videos like, hey, this is nothing like YouTube, the YouTube short I watched. So think about like the sample analogy I did earlier with Costco or whatever brand. Imagine getting a sample. You're like, man, that's so good. I want to buy the full box. And then you get that box, and it's like, it's not the chocolate cereal you just sampled. So in a way, that's really what's happening with a lot of creators is they're taking content, they're putting it up as YouTube Shorts that don't represent the actual content that their channel offers. And while it may be easy, that's really the thing that's destroying their channel, so to speak.
So mistake number 1 is they're uploading social videos. And so for some people, they're like dancing on Instagram, pointing to words.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of just more broad appeal or something. Like, I got the vertical video when I uploaded it as a short.
Correct.
But mistake number 1 is they're uploading social videos as YouTube Shorts that do not reflect the actual content their channel offers.
Yep.
Mistake number 2 is they're not monitoring the health and improving the effectiveness of the YouTube Shorts. So what do you mean by that?
So back to the hacks I mentioned earlier, such as, do your YouTube Shorts or your free samples, so to speak, do they represent the best parts of your YouTube channel? And one thing I haven't heard people say, and this is really a game changer if people can really grasp their mind around, is for the longest time, and you can probably agree with this, titles and thumbnails have been the largest barrier to overcome for all creators. Because a lot of times I remember early on, we'd make some videos like, man, if people were just to click this video and actually see what this video has to offer, like they would be so impressed. But like, I'm trying to figure out how to get people to click the title and thumbnail to begin with. And really with YouTube Shorts, it has completely removed that roadblock to where it's like, no, people are swiping and you can literally take them to the best part of your content. And so you can't really blame your titles and thumbnails anymore for like your lack of growth. And really, I would say the reason why we're seeing so much success is because not that our titles and thumbnails have ever been bad, but you just got to see some of the things that we're doing to truly believe it. And so if you're a creator and you've always struggled with good titles and thumbnails, then I'm so excited for you to try out YouTube Shorts because it fully removes that barrier and lets you put your best foot forward every single time if you want to when it comes to publishing content.
So then mistake number 3 is not linking your YouTube Shorts to the full version of the video. And you talked about this later. That's using that related video feature.
Correct. Yeah. And again, because YouTube's going to probably build out more features. My thing is always use the features that YouTube is building out because they're doing it for a reason. And anytime there's an opportunity for us to take YouTube Shorts audience and move them over to our normal content, then we're going to do that. I'll add a little note. You'll notice a lot of times with TikTok influencers or people who are influencers with short form content, whenever they have rallies or they want people to buy their book or come see the event, those creators have always struggled because true connection and life change happens when you spend time with people. And so in our minds at Ramsey Solutions, the life change and the hope and the education we have to offer is not going to happen in these 60-second vertical videos. It's crucial for us to roll those viewers over to our actual content where we can truly connect with them, where they can truly learn about our personalities and what we have to offer. And so I would say, as you're building out your strategy, make sure in the back of your mind, you're like, hey, I want these YouTube shorts to bring people to my actual content, because that's really where the life change and impact happens.
That's a huge point. And I think probably the big idea there too is that if you're just pulling vertical videos from wherever and just adding whatever video to related features, you are doing it wrong and you're falling short because you would want YouTube shorts.
Yep.
So because you think, does even this YouTube short naturally connect to this related video? Is that same experience? I've heard even some people say you kind of want it to be the same feel, the same look,
Exactly.
the same brand.
Yep.
Because again, you normally shoot in front of your computer with a crispy camera and a USB microphone, but your shorts are from your phone.
Correct.
Now, it might work, but it's like it has such a different feel. They just went into two different worlds. I love this because what you're saying is like reverse engineer the whole thing, and where actually the depth is, where actually the community is. You reference some of the stories of sometimes at VidCon, TikTok, huge multi-million followed TikTokers have nobody show up for their meetups.
Exactly.
There's no depth there. And, it used to be that like content is king, but really these days it feels like community is king.
So true.
Because if you actually have connection, so make sure you're thinking about architecting your shorts, linking those over. And then mistake number 4 is not publishing YouTube shorts frequently enough. What do you think the frequency should be?
So this, again, Ramsey Solutions, we do a lot here. Where I've seen time and time again, and across all 7 YouTube channels when we've rolled shorts out, is a daily frequency at least. And really the momentum starts to build after 30 days and really continues to compound past 90 days. So if you're publishing 1 or 2, it's kind of a lot like with video frequencies. Whatever you do it consistently. But if you can get to a level of doing 1 short a day, and that's going to compound a lot. And if you think about it, 7 YouTube shorts may sound like a lot. That's 7 minutes of content. And if you're doing it right and following kind of similar mindset that we do at Ramsey, it should be 7 minutes from content that's already edited, that's already available on your YouTube channel, that you just kind of splice up the best moments from, and you feature that. And what we've seen is our highlights, our videos range anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes, and we can normally pull 3 to 4 YouTube shorts out of that one video. Again, because a lot of our shorts are sometimes 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So that being said, don't let that daily 7 a week scare you. If you're publishing, 1 to 2 videos a week, you can easily get daily short strategy up and running.
Well, here's maybe a hard question on that though, that might parse some things out, because I think for some people, if you're a video podcaster, if you're a live show host, you're creating enough consistent content. And if you apply what you're talking about and wait for those spikes, then those spikes become the clips, and then the clips can become shorts. But if you're George Camel, is he doing 7 shorts a week?
He's doing 14 a week. He's doing 2 YouTube shorts a week. And
he's doing 14 YouTube shorts a week? But are they coming from his long form videos or other stuff?
They're coming only from the content on his YouTube channel. And here's the beautiful part.
And he's not. So I'm thinking about just the listener, because they might say, well, I'm not a video podcaster. Like, I make a normal YouTube video, talking head, TED tips for cooking.
Correct.
Some real estate tips. George is doing the same. He does not have a podcast.
Correct.
He does not have a live show.
Correct.
But he is making like thoughtful videos. And so you're saying apply to those as well. Is there different cut-ins or cut-outs, or are they just able to be pulled out of that episode?
They're being pulled out of those 3 videos a week. And what's helpful too is when you're thinking about YouTube short strategy, if you've been doing YouTube for a few years and you have a lot of evergreen content, you can actually start creating YouTube shorts for your evergreen content, because that's
go back in your library.
Exactly. So that's what we are doing with George. Is actually a hybrid model of, we're looking back at videos they posted last year that were top performing, and we're creating YouTube shorts out of those, and also watching his new videos as they release and cutting YouTube shorts out of those. And so if you are wanting to launch a YouTube short strategy and you've been on YouTube for a few years, oh man, you can actually drive a ton of traffic to videos that, honestly, there's been a few videos that didn't do what they were supposed to do in our mind, that after we created YouTube shorts for them, they got hundreds of thousands of extra views, and they were posted last year. And so it can be a hybrid model.
So you cut the short, uploaded the short did well, related video.
Correct.
And then it revived the old video.
Exactly. And so the suggest and browse traffic started picking up on those videos, and it's almost like YouTube Shorts jumpstart. Even though they stop driving traffic to those videos, they jumpstart and like bring the life back to them, and then they continue gaining momentum. And so, yeah.
From my studies, the click-through rate though on the related video is never that high.
Oh no.
But YouTube Shorts could get a couple million views.
Exactly.
And so a 2% click-through rate or 1% on a couple million views is great. And then to your point, what you're doing there is you're just kind of priming the algorithm a little bit for browse and suggested.
Correct. Yeah. There's really three main benefits. One is exposure to the brand and the personality. The second thing is if they subscribe. The third thing is if they actually click the link at the bottom and go watch a full video. And then really the vast majority of the traffic is, after you watch a few shorts, our content gets suggested to those viewers for the first time ever. So there's a lot of magical things happening when people are interacting with your YouTube shorts.
I also might go, I think, because if we dig deep on this, I know that anyone who's really obsessed with this YouTube world might see, like we just had some breakout shorts. And the reason they broke out was they were from long form podcasts. They still link back to the episode.
Yep.
I still feel good about it. But they were from cuts. They were from stories, trend surfing a little bit, influence surfing. Like I had Chris Doe on the podcast, and he would reference like 21 Pilots, or he would reference Elon Musk or something. And we're talking about YouTube. So a YouTube tactic would not go viral. But him breaking down something about Taylor Swift did. And we got to the place where in this podcast channel, 1 million views a month were long form, building it up, high quality. The podcast is newer. I'm grateful for that. But we hit like 20 million views in shorts views. And then when we studied, you could see shorts versus long form. And it was 9 out of 10 people were watching shorts only based on that window of time. And so one of the things that was important to me was to not get delusional and just be like, I'm grounded. Like it was cool to have that spike. And a lot of that would be maybe a shallow level of viewership. I feel like at Ramsey, you guys have it so dialed because even if it is kind of a wild story that Dr. John's talking about, it ties back to what you'll actually get.
Correct.
And then if it's financial stuff, or it's about the Fed or Bitcoin or crypto or something, it's going to tie back to the show that you're actually going to get. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I guess it's the idea that in one sense, it sometimes can seem like shorts viewers are not that serious. They want entertainment and whatnot. But if you're putting out the right kind of shorts, you stay focused. In your case, it would seem like personal finance shorts are going to attract at least maybe a less serious, more just scrolling audience, but they want what they get on the actual channel. Any thoughts on that versus, again, just trimming kind of jumping on a trend and you get a bunch of views, but it might not be your ideal or core audience?
I'll answer two parts. So one of the hacks that we've realized with YouTube Shorts, it kind of falls back to the mindset of we don't want people just to be YouTube Shorts viewers on our channel. We want them to convert. One of the ways that we really converted people over quickly is really we're leading into our YouTube Shorts not giving a full context or a full complete thought or all of the answer in order to drive massive conversions from our YouTube Shorts to our long form content. And that being said,
you're creating a gap.
Exactly.
Wait, I need completion now. You've opened a loop. You've hooked my attention, opened a loop, but the only way to close this unresolved conflict this storytelling is created is by clicking this related video. This might be the best podcast we've ever had in terms of YouTube strategies and tactics. We are in.
We are deep
right now.
But I like Sean. I would have paid thousands of dollars for just to listen to this a few months ago.
I feel you.
So it's crazy. But if you have your YouTube Shorts mindset of okay, YouTube wants people to eventually come over. That's where the life change happens. That's honestly where YouTube makes their money. So they don't even want people to stay in the YouTube short side of things. But yeah, if your YouTube shorts literally just tease or, provide a little bit of education, but hey, if you want the full answer, make sure to click the link below. That's really the what we're trying to create with all of our YouTube shorts, on top of it being from the best moments. But back to your having
that might be a mistake, not a mistake, but part of our shorts which can do well, they're complete thoughts.
Yeah.
It's like beginning, middle, and end.
There's no reason to go.
There's no reason to go. They stand alone and you get the views, but why even click the related video? You got the full context, at least of that. Maybe you want to go to the full conversation, but click-through rate's much lower.
Yeah.
When you create that gap.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
And then back to your, something interesting with YouTube Shorts is back to having celebrities on or guests on. Hey, this is not normally, what our content's about, but man, it's doing really well. One of the things that YouTube Shorts has opened up in our minds is historically topics or people who have done well or haven't done well as videos magically somehow work as YouTube Shorts. And so we've had a few interviews or contents wow, it didn't perform as a video, but it's reaching a new audience with YouTube Shorts. And so it's kind of flipping, honestly, historical data on its head a little bit too, which is fun. But to your point, sometimes YouTube Shorts is just, there's a lot of unknowns still as far as hey, why does that work? That's interesting. And honestly, sometimes it's not even the tactical educational moments that we have on our shows. It's literally a joke between Rachel Cruz and George Camel in their episode that that drove 20,000 people to this episode that got them to actually learn something about money. So it's really fascinating to how YouTube Shorts, different content types still are successful. So
this is one of those episodes that you need to re-listen to, because we are getting very geeky. Yes. I don't know if you could even catch it all. And I want to make sure we close the loop on, you wrote down 5 mistakes, so we'll just hit that 5th mistake. Yeah. Just under the one category we're talking about on this debate of our YouTube Shorts destroying your channel. Oh, yeah. You said mistake number 5 is not publishing YouTube Shorts consistently for at least 90 days to build momentum with your audience. And you hit that before. So if you stack all 5 of those mistakes, which you may want to rewind, get all that lined up, and it's not going to destroy your channel. And I can testify to that Think Media podcast, even with, I even kind of wondered, I'm man, when we had a couple 10 million, 20 million viewed shorts, so we had a podcast guest talking about a celebrity without even really my personal brand in it. So Eric's talking about Rob Dyrdek, 11, 12 million views. And I'm asking myself, what did this really accomplish? And I'm also soberly evaluating, maybe not much, but it definitely got views. It actually got about $2,000 in ad revenue, which is, shorts they went from about 7 cents or 4 to 5 cents RPM to about 14 to 18 cents for us. You guys, personal finance might be crazier. I'm curious, maybe, I don't know if you could, but ultimately, the net positive, though, was a small fraction of subscribed discovered us. And I'm also thinking, though, but that also will be a lot of people who just come and go. And on our analytics, it's more vanity. But I'm also interested in that long form. That's our baseline. That's what we're measuring. And this, from my data-driven perspective, it didn't hurt our long form at all. Our long form, in a way, didn't even change much. It just eclipsed it. Correct. And I will admit that it might be, it's my theory that it sometimes can create 2 audiences. Some people who just love to continue to watch shorts, and maybe someday you hope to convert them over, but they just continue to watch shorts and being okay with that. I'm well, so now as the numbers on Think Media Podcast get bigger, whoa, we're at almost 300,000 subscribers. I'm yeah, but how many subscribe because of shorts? And so what is our baseline? What is our core audience? And the channel's not destroyed because nothing has been injured. Maybe just some other things have been inflated. And so you're trying to keep the whole thing in perspective. What do you think about my thinking there?
Oh, no, that's perfect. And I think the kind of some of the things we talked about, once you have that mindset of, if YouTube Shorts should not be a place where my audience gets all the information they need. I need to entice them and tease the content using YouTube Shorts. That's where you're going to start seeing all those conversions to long form happening. But yeah, it should not affect your long form content. And we track long form content here at Ramsey, and we actually all of our goals are set on our long form content growth, meaning 7 9 minute videos, 30-minute videos, things like that. We don't really look at YouTube Shorts uniques and viewership unless they convert over to our actual content. And so yeah, I fully agree with that mindset where everyone needs to think like that, where it's YouTube Shorts are teasing my content, teasing my ideas, teasing my channel. If you're giving everything away in 60-second increments, then you're doing the YouTube short strategy wrong. And if you're definitely not representing your own content on the channel by uploading from other social media platforms, that's why people's channels die. So yeah, you nailed it. Yep.
All right. Well, the final section of this conversation, which has been super valuable, and if you're listening, you're getting value, especially on YouTube, smash like on this one. And even if you are on audio, I would love to have you stop by and maybe hit the YouTube channel to give some feedback and any future questions, because Connor, you're delivering massive value today. You have a framework of the 3 pillars of a successful YouTube channel. So if you want to start a new YouTube channel or improve your current channel, this is what you recommend. Break this down, the 3 pillars. Number 1 is the creator, host, personality. What does this mean?
So the 3 pillars, I really can't take credit for it. I would say it's from a decade of conferences, a decade of conversations with other creators. Really, it can be a little overwhelming when you're either launching a show or a YouTube channel, or you currently have one and you're looking for opportunities to improve of like, man, how do I feel like there's a million different moving parts. And so what the 3 pillars does for you is to really help you isolate the 3 main areas of your content. And that's you as the creator. The second one is the actual content you're delivering, and then the format in which that content is being delivered. So I always like to go extreme. So I'll use Hot Ones as an example. If you haven't seen it, it's a celebrity interview show where they eat hot chicken wings. And as the interview progresses, the wings get hotter, hotter, and hotter. And so, for example, if you want to start an interview show today, this is the most oversaturated interview environment. You can get any celebrity these days to be on your podcast. And so if you were to start one today, even if you had Kevin Hart or your favorite celebrity on, odds are you would get some views, but there's no way you'd be competing in the space. And so Hot Ones, if you want to look at that, you got the creator, which is Sean, the interviewer. He's really good. The content is usually from a celebrity. So of course, naturally, the bigger the celebrity, the more popular the episode. But really what makes it unique is if a celebrity's on any interview show, I'm probably going to go watch Hot Ones because no other show gives me a celebrity interviewing experience that forces my favorite celebrity, people I look up to or watch on movies, like eat hot chicken wings during their interview. You get to see them cry, laugh. It really brings out an authentic experience in the interview. And so if we were to do the 3-pillar exercise for that show, I would say, hey, yeah, good interviewing, check. The creator's good. The content's good. You got celebrities on, fantastic. Oh man, the format side, how that interview is being delivered, you incorporated hot chicken wings and it just brings out this unique format. And you can apply this filter to any show you watch. If you want to jump to your favorite, I love The Office. So, you got all your favorite characters, the format there is the show's done in an office. If you look at seasons or episodes where they leave the office to go do a camping trip or outside, those seasons rank lower because people prefer to see those characters, Bam, Jim, everybody.
It's familiar.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the context, the format is set, and that's where a lot of humor and jokes can rally around.
Exactly. And then when you lose a Michael Scott, then the whole show tanks because, again, a lot of that show is reliant on one person, and then all these other pillars kind of help support it. So when you're analyzing your own show or you're thinking about starting a new one, look at what the landscape has. So if you're starting a makeup tutorial channel, look at your competition and say, okay, everyone does just the camera in front. They do the makeup. Some are doing these unique things. But how can I do a makeup tutorial that nobody else is doing currently? How I can deliver it well, I have a good content, but what is that extra piece in the show or a content idea where I can bring it to a whole nother level? And so really when it comes to us improving our shows or creating new ones, we always kind of bounce all ideas across this filter of, okay, we want this person to be the lead. Okay, what are their strengths? Oh, they have great humor. Well, if that's one of the main attributes and strengths, let's make sure humor is incorporated. Their delivery style needs a little bit more work. They're really good at, knowing the stats. They just need a little bit more help on the delivery side. Let's really focus on that and get that improved. So that way, when we launch the show, that show's solid. And then the format, hey, here's like 3 or 4 different format ideas for this show that nobody else is doing currently that can really help us stand out in the marketplace. And so high level, that's really the 3 pillars and kind of the analysis we use to kind of make sure we're competitive in the marketplace. And it's funny, you'll be watching shows now and you can kind of, all right, this show's relying on which one of the 3 pillars? Oh man, the writing and the content's so good. Like everything else is kind of, but man, that content's so good. Or, oh man, this person just drives the whole show. Like the reason why they're successful is this. Or, hey, no, it's an interview show, man. That format is so good. Like no one else is doing interviews in ice baths. No one else is doing interviews eating hot chicken wings. And the examples can go on. So hopefully that gives you a good grasp of,
it's super genius.
How we look at shows.
And I think people ask, like, man, how can I stand out or how can I be different? By tweaking these different levers.
Exactly.
Because you just tweak the format and all of a sudden you've created something like people, business is crowded, real estate is crowded, personal finance is crowded.
Yeah.
Eat hot wings.
Yeah.
You just created something totally unique in the world. And then stack up. And then I guess as people that are just starting, you might say, okay, start with what you have. Start with your resources today, but level up along the way. Like I've learned that YouTube is a personal development journey.
Yeah.
My skills as a communicator, delivery, on-camera presence has been an over-decade process.
Yeah.
And so I was getting the views I deserved when I started YouTube.
Yeah.
But I was committed to personal growth.
Yeah.
And committed to becoming a better creator, host, personality. And we're asking ourselves, how can we improve the content? And this has really got me fired up because thinking about what new formats could we create. And interestingly enough, you also might be inspired. You just take something that's done, you go adjacent. Jerry Seinfeld has comedians in cars getting coffee. George Camel launched millionaires in cars getting coffee.
Yeah, totally stole it. Yeah.
And borrowed. Good artists steal, great artists
exactly.
copy.
Yeah.
I do this live show called Coffee with Cannell. I was thinking, what if I do kombucha in cars with Cannell? It's dumb. I just, but I was, thinking about if I wanted to do a car. So, but format and where if you take millionaires is a different pillar, comedians is a different pillar. So if you just steal it or borrow strategically from somebody else, man, there's adjacencies where there could be inspiration to make your niche unique, different, and stand out.
Yeah. And I'll give you like a live example. Like, you're a business owner, successful. If you want to start a business YouTube channel, you can do one that says like running a business with Sean. And it's you doing a 5-minute run while giving business tips. Again, it's like a format of and you have guests on and you run together. Again, there's some audio issues probably around that.
Yeah.
But that's a fun play on words. It's and it's all about hey, you got to take care of yourself while running a business. You got to stay active. So it's fun little tiny ideas like that. Oh, that's actually a good idea. No one else is doing it like that. But imagine a quick little business show where it's oh yeah, running a business with Sean, and he runs for 5 minutes and gives me business tips.
Man,
what a great little fun idea just off the top of my head right there.
And I think about how technology sometimes actually really can open up new possibilities. So you take the DJI Pocket 3, which is an incredible camera. A co-author of YouTube Secrets, Benji Travis, has been doing his kind of new era of vlog style with it. It comes with wireless mic in the creator pack. You could get 2. Yeah. The gimbal's perfect.
Yeah.
And so, and it's 1-inch sensor and it's beautiful and it's under $1,000. And the mics are amazing. So I was like, okay, you live in a city, you want to do a business podcast. Steve Jobs liked to walk everywhere, talk about meetings.
Yeah.
You could have meetings with your staff, but you could go on, if you just had somebody filming you, and the wireless distance is pretty amazing. So if once you just hit record, you're going to get all the audio. Each guest, boom, and then somebody could be walking, maybe they go between the cars, they go and you walk, and you could just be walking in an interesting environment, or you could be walking in the country, and Under $1,000, 3 people, the guest, you, and somebody that probably doesn't even need very good film skills, because this DJI is going to like really handle that for you. And you now have an interesting format that also might put you into like, oh, we're being attacked by a wildebeest, you know, like different things that could happen. Oh, he fell into a ditch. Oh, get him out. But obviously, you know, especially if you're in a city, I was just like, man, this would be so interesting. We could really be, when formerly you might need a dolly, a DJI gimbal to balance your camera, wireless mics, packs. This whole thing is so lean, 4K. And again, we just took something like business that everybody's doing, switched the format up on it.
Yeah, that's so fun. And I feel like these days it's easier than ever to get started, and it is becoming a war of ideas rather than technology barriers and things like that. And so spend time and just think about, hey, what is no one else doing? And the last thing I would say around the 3 pillars is each pillar ultimately is supporting the core of what the show is. And so as you're thinking about your channel or, you know, starting a new one or improving, you never want to tweak a format or content or you yourself to just for the sake of doing it. It needs to support and elevate the ultimate experience that you're ultimately trying to give your audience. And so if running and doing business tips inhibits you from doing that well and delivering your content or your personality, then I would say, hey, that was a cool format idea, but like ultimately it's not going to support the ultimate goal content wise. And so, because I can personally get carried away, oh, that's an awesome format idea, but I have to remember, what are we trying to do at the end of the day? We're trying to impact people's lives, trying to educate, and whatever the format idea is, it can be awesome and cool, but the second it starts to take away from our ultimate goal, that's when it's no longer a good format idea. So just ultimately make sure each pillar is ultimately serving the purpose of what your content is about.
That is genius. And so I have one more question for you, but as we land the plane and before we get there, Connor, I appreciate all your wisdom.
Oh, thank you.
You've been incredibly generous today with tactics and tips that we can apply at all different levels. Where can people connect with you? Anything you want to shout out? We'll put that in the show notes before our final question.
I would say just check out the Ramsey Show, all of Ramsey Network. If you just go to the Ramsey Show, all of our channels are featured there. So that's really the only shout out I have.
Okay, awesome. You're on LinkedIn as well.
Yes.
If the professional network.
Yeah, reach out, invite me. Yeah.
And then final question for you. You got into this YouTube thing and started working for Ramsey Solutions 11 years ago. And so you got to see through all these eras. I guess, did you ever imagine 11 years ago that YouTube would be what it is today? And where do you see it going in the future? And what is the opportunity for someone who's just getting started that doesn't have Ramsey Solutions behind them, but what you would see for somebody who's like, man, is it too late to start? You know, what should my mindset be going into now? The future of YouTube from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the future is really excited. 11 years ago, I still look around today and I can't imagine, like, oh my gosh, like the level that we're doing things. I get really excited about anytime anyone comes up and says, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel, because I think every day that goes by, it is easier than ever to win on YouTube. And you've already kind of hit on some of those, like technology costs, the camera, the access to mics. And I tease it a little bit, like the access to free AI tools, content generation, A/B testing, like plugins, like the amount of data and resources you have to fail quickly honestly excites me. And I would say over the last 11 years, and I hope everyone's listening gets this, is that you need to get to a point where you love to fail, and fail fast. Like, it actually worries me when things go well too long, because that means I'm not trying, I'm not innovating enough. So look at failure as a learning tool, because everything we talked about today and everything that Ramsey Solutions is today, we're standing on 90% of failure. And what everyone sees, this building, all the shows, all the viewership, is only 10% of all the success that we've done. And the reason we've gotten there is because we've learned to fail fast. So I would say I am so excited. And I would say for anyone who's wanting to start or even improve their channel, it's the best time to fail. That's actually a positive thing.
That's amazing.
It's the best time to fail.
Connor, thank you so much for your wisdom today.
Thank you, Sean. It was fun.
Well, I hope you got massive value out of my conversation with Connor. And if you did, it would mean the world to me if you smashed like or rated or reviewed or shared the Think Media podcast wherever you watch or listen. And I also want to encourage you, videogrowthday.com is coming up soon. Imagine getting crystal clear on your YouTube growth plan, getting massive momentum for starting or continuing to grow your channel all in just one day, entirely for free. You can go to the show notes or you can go to videogrowthday.com to register for this free one-day multi-hour event where you're going to get our step-by-step growth plan that we use at Think Media, as well as massive insight into how to create an unfair advantage on your channel, a bunch of giveaways, a bunch of chance to connect with the community. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so check out the show notes for that and everything else that we shared and learned about in this podcast. And until the next episode, my name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Aliens.
Doritos. Yeah!
New Super Cream. The power of 5 benefits in one Super Cream. Only Olay.
This episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about how to turn what you know into a profitable career.
I was looking at data from my business and I realized that 85% of our orders were coming a year after somebody gave me their email address. And the reality is people will forget that you exist if you don't remind them.
And if you're already posting content on YouTube, maybe you have a smaller audience or a smaller channel, size really doesn't matter if you have the right strategy. And we're going to actually be breaking down how to do $100,000 plus per year.
Romantic relationships, friendships, relationships with brands, relationships with politicians, they all work in 3 phases.
What are the biggest mistakes people make when writing emails and following up?
Well, the biggest mistake is they don't do it. I give you several categories of goals to set for your business in the book, but let me give you 2 that are really important. The first is the most important, and that is...
In this episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about how to turn what you know into a profitable career. And if you're already posting content on YouTube, maybe you have a smaller audience or a smaller channel, size really doesn't matter if you have the right strategy. And we're going to actually be breaking down how to do $100,000 plus per year and really 8 practical steps for that. My guest today is Donald Miller, author of Coach Builder and other classics like Building a Story Brand. And I'm super fired up for this conversation with Donald. How's it going?
Wonderful. Yeah, thankful to be here.
So I just finished your new book, Coach Builder. And the big idea here is that when it comes to starting a YouTube channel, a lot of times people think about ad revenue and things like that. And oftentimes a full-time career off of just YouTube ads might not only be a long ways out, it probably might be never for a lot of people, because you're getting pennies for your views. But so many people listen to this that are educators, that are maybe have experience they don't realize they have, that they could in turn turn into coaching or something like that. So can you give us the big idea? You really help business coaches in this book, but you expand it out to what it could be like. You have some experience. What's the big idea and the opportunity when it comes to coaching?
The idea is knowledge is worth something, because knowledge helps people make money, save money, experience less frustration. Just recently, I went through a little health transition, trying to figure some things out. Nothing critical at all, but I realized, wow, I'd love to pay somebody $800 a month to help me understand, this MRI and this and all that kind of stuff. We need a concierge medicine coach, but they don't exist. And I thought, well, there you go. We have all these nurses who are underpaid who could actually be moonlighting as concierge coaches for 5 or 6 clients and probably double their salary. Had an experience with my home. married with a baby and realized, okay, I need a front gate, I need a security system, all that kind of stuff. I wish there was a police officer or a former military who could come to my house and take me through a checklist on everything I needed to do. What do I do with my weapons, and how do I keep them safe from the kids, and all those sorts of things. So now you have underpaid police officers and former military, underutilized with their knowledge, professionalizing their wisdom and productizing it in such a way that it's helpful to the world. That's what Coach Builder is about. We talk a lot about business coaching because people understand business coaches, but there are so many people who have wisdom, and a lot of them, they go to YouTube and they start sharing that wisdom without realizing you can do this for advertising revenue. That's really terrific, but you can also actually create a menu of products and sell them for $2, $3, $5, $10, $15,000 a pop, and actually make a lot of money. And now your YouTube presence is promoting something that is really good for the world.
That's so powerful. And I'm curious, how big is the opportunity from the angle of, I think it's a new idea that people would actually pay for knowledge, right? To some, like, how much can I charge? How much they may hear numbers, oh, that wouldn't work for me. But what's actually happening out there?
Well, it's not a new idea in the sense that, consulting firms like Accenture and KPMG have been making billions and billions and billions of dollars. The new evolution is that the average person is now able to do that, just like YouTube. I mean, media was something when I grew up, it was 5 channels that you actually physically clicked the dial to get some other frequency. And now it's just democratized. And so I think wisdom is also being democratized. And I'm telling everybody listening, get in on it, because people are now very, very much used to it. My wife works with a woman named Nicole Burke with an organization called Gardenary that she started. Her vision is to make gardening ordinary. And Nicole came over, helped us with our kitchen garden, helped us know what the spring planting would be, spent a day with us. She makes $1 million a year giving gardening advice. She has no degree in gardening. She just discovered it when she started her own garden. She realized she's got an incredible green thumb. She had so much lettuce she had to pass around in the community, and that's a great free advertising. So these ladies said, how are you growing this lettuce? Teach me. And she's making $1 million a year with that knowledge now. So I think it's, wisdom is being democratized, but there's things that you need to do if you want to coach or consult for a living, apart from just giving your advice away for free. There's a system to it, and the Coach Builder is that system.
Well, I'm excited to talk through those 8 steps, at least at a high level. But in the beginning of the book, you compare 2 options, and you say, personally, what would you rather have, a master's in business from a prestigious university versus hiring a coach? You recommended hiring a coach. Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to throw prestigious universities under the bus. Probably not a good idea. There's a lot of R&D in the sciences and the medical community that come out of universities. A lot of the drugs that we take that are saving lives and possibly not saving lives, but come out of the medical community. All rocket engines came out of the university system. I think when it comes to business, big universities tend to do a pretty good job preparing you to be chairman of the Fed, but not a very good job running a small business. And so if you got a mom and pop shop and you want to grow a business, I think shutting that down and going back to college is not an option. And I think if you did shut it down and go back to college, you wouldn't learn very much about how to grow that business. You'd learn about, the future and artificial intelligence and these sorts of things, but probably not how to read a P&L statement and make good decisions. So hiring a business coach is just a better move at that point. But again, if you want to be a doctor, you need to go to school. So nothing against the university system. But I think that having somebody that you can talk to on a weekly basis about the decisions that you're trying to make, who have been there a little bit before you and made the mistakes that they don't want you to make, is invaluable. When I look back on the hockey stick growth periods that I've had, one of the reasons for some of those hockey stick periods of growth is because I met a person, and the person taught me X. And I can name those people. I can name them. Greg Harris taught me about publishing. Doug Kime taught me about systematizing and professionalizing an operation. Governor Haslam here in Tennessee became a friend and taught me about leadership. There were people associated with those, and none of them were university professors. They were practitioners.
So getting to people with experience, and you have a lot of experience in this area. And of course, we're going to go through these tips, but on page 31, You talk about how to build a $150,000 coaching business in under 24 months, and you say, what if people feel weird about asking for this kind of money for coaching? For those, as we break down these steps, because I really want our community to lean in, you walk through a system for this. And this might seem just crazy for somebody like that hasn't broken into that yet, or maybe in their career they're making 80K, which is awesome. But even to hear a number like, wait, in 24 months I could be doing 150 plus, and towards the end of the book you talk about reverse engineering 7 figures. I know you really break down the specific math, but like, where does that money come from? Like, what are the numbers? What could that look like?
Yeah, well, first of all, let's deal with the mindset of asking ourselves, are we really worth $150,000 to share information? Especially information that you could probably get on YouTube or on the internet or a book on Amazon. The reality is you could probably get all the information that you need to make $150,000, or the person that you're selling your consulting services to can get everything they need for free. But they can't get it from a human being, one-on-one. They can't get it from somebody who's empathetic, who's going to listen to them, and who's going to nuance that information for them. If you are a business coach, for example, you can make somebody millions and millions of dollars by teaching them something. For instance, I have a friend who he charges $350,000 a year for his coaching. He will meet with you 1 hour a month. So you're getting 12 hours for $350,000. So I said, Dan, why are you worth $350,000? Obvious question. He said, I'm not worth $350,000. However, who I know is worth $350,000. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if you want to sell your company, I probably know who's going to buy it. And if you want a chief marketing officer, I think I probably know who that is. You're buying my Rolodex. So what is that worth would you pay somebody $350,000 to get a 2x multiple extra on your company when you probably could have got a 6x? Or positioning it in such a way, or to know somebody who's going to be able to build that app. Even a YouTube strategist, I can hire somebody to be my YouTube person, but let's say that I hire my YouTube person and then I say, I want you to hire a Sean Cannell certified coach for 1 year to get you going. That's going to be $1,500 a month for me to hire that coach for you. What am I getting out of that as a businessman? I'm probably getting a 10x return conservatively on that $1,500, right? Because the compound interest on the knowledge and the mistakes that we don't have to make are worth a lot of money. So there's a lesson in there for all of us. What you want to charge is a small percentage of the money that you are making or saving somebody else in the business community. Now, let's say it's gardening, right? $1 million on gardening, they're not making you any money. In fact, I ate a tomato out of our garden last night. I'm pretty sure the cost of that tomato was $37. You actually extrapolated it all out. But what somebody's buying then is peace of mind. They're buying hobby. They're buying connection with their family. And then you need to put a dollar value on that. What would you pay to have a family project that you all love? Would you pay $5,000 a year for that? Absolutely. You'd pay a lot more than that just to go to Disney World. So a lot of people who have the wisdom haven't taken the step yet to figure out the value, the commercial value of that wisdom. And what you're looking for is peace of mind, better sleep, better health, better self-esteem, cleaner, organized house. All of that stuff has an economic value, and you want to charge what you're worth. Now, the other reason to not give this stuff away for free is that when people give away things for free, they aren't valued. Early on in my career, I ran story brand marketing workshops, and probably 8 or 10 times somebody had a nonprofit or a friend said, hey, can I get in, sit in the back of the room, and I would let them come in for free. I probably had 20,000 people come through those workshops. There were 8 or 10 people who were looking at their phones or skipping sessions or pacing around in the lobby on their phone while I was teaching, and every single one of them came in for free. Because when you don't pay for something, you actually attempt to justify in your mind why that wasn't worth something, rather than feel gratitude that you got something that should cost $3,000 for free. You think, well, this person is going to give me $3,000 worth of gratitude. They're actually not. They're going to build a case for why they were right and not paying anything. And so, you want to charge. $500, half price, something, so that they have skin in the game and will turn around and respect that. So, all of that is why you should actually charge money for your products.
So strong. And let's get into these steps. And so step one is create a menu of products and services to sell your clients. Break this down a little bit.
Yeah, so if you've got a job and you want to start coaching and you're dreaming about that, let's start. Don't leave your job yet. What I want you to do is actually create a menu of products of the things that you can sell. For instance, let's say you're a marketing executive somewhere, or something like that. You could actually sell a one-day marketing strategy session for $7,500. We're going to go into a business and you're going to look at their current marketing strategy and you're going to improve that. You want to have that be a deliverable product. I like creating a keynote deck and a workbook. So you're clicking through the keynote and they're filling out the workbook as you go along. That would be a product that you could sell for $7,500. A lot of coaches, well, honestly, that's cheap. $15,000, $20,000. We sell them for $20,000. Mm-hmm. So, and also if you create the keynote deck and the workbook, I can charge $20,000 for somebody else coming in. We have 3 or 4 facilitators who go do that. So, it's just really smart to create those frameworks. But the menu of products, what it does is it gives you confidence that you have something that you can sell. If you are selling just coaching, if you say, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to become a coach, would you like to be a client? I can coach you. That's like walking into a restaurant and saying, what are you known for? What are your specials? And they say protein. Protein we're really known for our protein. We make really great protein. Yeah. That is a true statement, but it's unhelpful in terms of helping me give you money.
Yes.
If you say, listen, I am biased. We have the best cheeseburger in the city of Nashville. It is the best. Guess what I'm ordering? Protein. I'm ordering in the form of a cheeseburger because I know what that is. That, I think, is the number one mistake people make when they get into coaching, is they just sell their coaching. And I think that's fine. You can end up selling your coaching. But let's start with a 6-month mastermind in which we overhaul your leadership. Let's start with a 12-month elite mastermind demographic, or only people who make more than $10 million. Let's start, so you want to actually come up with something specific that has a start date, an end date, a deliverable, and a price. And when you have 3 of those and you really dial them in and you know how you're going to deliver them, you are ready to start a coaching business. I still don't recommend leaving your day job yet, because there's another step 2, but you are ready to start a coaching business. And here's the other thing, Sean, you can actually say, well, if I need to make $175,000 to match the salary that I had in my day job, I know exactly how many of each product I need to sell in order to do it. And in coaching, it's a black box, and you're going to feel stressed. You're going to have trouble going to sleep. I know I need to sell 7 of these, 12 of these, and 4 of these. And now I can say, okay, how do I do it? Which is getting into step 2.
Would you recommend, when you 7 of these, 4 of these, 12 of these, also that maybe you have low, medium, and high in terms of your menu too?
Yeah, it's always great to have sort of an entry-level product. In fact, one of the steps in the book is to have a ladder of products, and the whole bottom of the ladder is actually free. And I realized I said don't charge nothing, but nothing is actually free. Some of them are in exchange for your email address. You're going to get this PDF, and then I'm going to send you these free nurture emails that are just automated. They don't cost me any time. And then I'm probably going to invite you to a webinar. Well, by this time, I've given you enough value, and there's time plus contact where we've created a bond a little bit. Even if we've never met, it's all digital. And now you're willing to buy my $275 product, at which point is still digital. I've not put any skin in the game. But by the time that you and I are in a room together, we're probably at about $5,000.
Yeah.
And that's really where my time starts to come into play. I'm giving you time. Bottom price is $5,000.
Yep.
There's some automated digital products in there. There's some automated digital lead generators, those sorts of things. But starting from 0 all the way up to $50,000 would be that ladder of products.
I think that's a good clarity point too, because if you say we're going to put really high valuable free content on YouTube,
yes,
and content that can get people results in advance, start implementing, wow, that was helpful. In one sense, this idea of a lead magnet for email, some people call them freebies, freemiums. YouTube is a step in front of that, or
No,
in a way a similar step.
Let me give you an example. I wrote a book called Hero on a Mission, and it's basically the description or the step-by-step instructions for a morning ritual that clears a busy mind and helps you stay on track and kind of plan your life. We created some software around that, Hero on a Mission software, where you can go in and spend 15 minutes on a daily ritual. You fill out some questions. What am I grateful for? You look at your calendar of events, my primary tasks, those sorts of things. And we put the book out. It gets us 15 people a day signing up for the software. We did a YouTube video, and it gets us 100 people a day signing up for the software. So that's more powerful than a book. And the book was a bestseller. So yes, YouTube is a great strategy to lead people to your lead generator, which captures their email address and so forth and so on. And then let's go ahead and monetize that. The software is free. Nobody has to pay for it. But we would actually email you and say, would you like to spend $275 and watch the on-demand course? Well, first we're going to say you want to buy the book, like $20. Then the on-demand course is $275. Would you like to hire a coach to spend a year taking you through this system? Well, that coach paid me $10,000 to be certified to be that coach. So you can see how the monetization of the YouTube video can work in ways that are just beyond advertising. And it requires you scaling up a little bit of a coaching business.
Step 2, generate and manage a list of potential clients.
Yes. Who are you going to sell your products to? And a lot of people start with clients. And I would say start with products, because until you know what products you're going to sell, you don't know who you're going to sell them to. So basically what you want to do is you want to take a list of the problems that your products solve, and then make another list of the potential people who you know who could actually use the solution to that problem, and then write an email and send it to them and sell them that. That's before you even get into a CRM. Then once I get into a CRM, I want a lead generator that's providing emails to that CRM and automating the division of those 3 products and the 3 things that I'm going to sell people. But most coaches, for instance, a guy I know named Chad, who actually helps run my company. The reason Chad is with my company is he sent an email. He left another, not competitor, a friend of mine who does something similar, left their business, sent out one email to a small list of contacts that he had that said, here's what I did for Mike, and here's what I can do in the marketplace. I'm going to be doing some consulting, and hire me if you want. We'll teach you kind of what we did over here. I hired him immediately, paid him a lot of money, enjoyed the relationship so much that I bought him out of his own consulting firm, and he gets an enormous amount of money being on my leadership team now from one email. But let me tell you what he did in that email. He described the problems that he solved at his previous company and said, if you have those problems, I can help you solve them. And by the way, in the book, there's formulas for writing emails, and we have now put inside of a server artificial intelligence informed by StoryBrand that will help you write that sales letter. So, there's just so many ways to do it. But you need a menu of products, and then you need a list of people that you can sell those products to. And ultimately, if you really want to grow a coaching firm, you need a CRM managing leads selling those products.
And can you define CRM for listeners?
It's just customer relationship management software, Salesforce, HubSpot. Basically, you want a system where you've created emails that are automated, and when you stick an email address in there, it's going to send the first one, and then 5 days later it's going to send the second one, and then 5 days later, 3 days later, 2 days later, you set it up to send the third one, and now you're building trust in an automated email system.
And I love this thing you hit in the book here. How do you launch your coaching business? You tell people you're a coach over and over.
Yes. Especially if you're trying to change your identity in their mind.
Yes.
Right.
So listeners are probably thinking about that, like, wait a minute, like, to step into this thing of, I'm a coach, how do I become a coach? How will people know I'm a coach? This is even kind of a branding and positioning messaging thing. Speak to that mindset of someone that is leaning into this identity and building up that brand, and maybe the right mindset too of establishing a brand, because you say tell people over and over.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I wrote my first book, I was at a book signing my book, and one of the lady came up and said, hey, what is it like to be a writer? And I just looked at her and I said, well, I'm not a writer. And she just looked at me very confused because I'm signing my book.
Yeah.
Identity often lags behind action. And you've got to get there. And so the only way that you can have the identity of a coach is actually if you coach. So a lot of the people get blocked because, well, I'm not a coach, I'm this. you need probably 3 really successful engagements as a coach before your identity will even begin to catch up. So the first thing is you're going to have to jump before you swim.
Hey, we're about to get back into the podcast in just a second, but I have a question for you. Do you want to grow your personal brand this year? Do you need more leads and sales in your business? If the answer is yes, then right now is the best time to go all in on YouTube. Today's podcast is brought to you by thinkmasterclass.com, where you can get on-demand access to a 1-hour deep dive training revealing how to start and grow a profitable YouTube channel this year. For a limited time, you can get access to this on-demand class entirely for free, where you will learn the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when starting a YouTube channel, the new rules and changes that have been happening on YouTube and how you can use them to create an unfair advantage, and the exact strategy we use at Think Media to generate over 350,000 organic views every single day. The data is clear. 70% of viewers claim that YouTube makes them more aware of new brands. So don't wait any longer to start growing your brand and business with YouTube. Just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to this no-fluff, highly tactical, free on-demand training. That's thinkmasterclass.com.
Right? It's like standing on the edge of the pool and saying, well, I'm not swimming. That's because you're not in the pool. Yes. You will swim really fast, especially if you're in the deep end. So I encourage you to jump in and start coaching, but also to tell people that I now coach people through X, and you're going to have to kind of memorize a line because it's not going to feel true, even though it is true. You are actually coaching somebody. So I wouldn't be too self-deprecating about it. I think that's going to cost you in your career. But you want to jump in and begin to, your action will follow, your identity will follow action. We've got to get in there and start coaching, call ourselves a coach, put together a coaching website, begin promoting yourself. In 12 months, you're not going to have that problem anymore.
So strong. And step 3 is create a compelling website that attracts your ideal clients. And in this chapter, you do touch on your sales pitch or your elevator pitch, which you kind of just mentioned. Like maybe that's I solve X problem, or what is that?
Yeah. Well, let's go through, we can go through all the parts of a website, but I just want to give you the part that needs to be at the top.
Yeah.
And the part that needs to be at the top is identify the problem that you solve as a coach and position your coaching product as the resolution of that problem. For instance, you would say a lot of people dream of being a really good cook. I leverage my 10 years of experience in fine dining kitchens to teach you how to cook 6 amazing dishes of your choice. I'm in. I just made that up, and I'm like, where is that person? I will pay them money. Now imagine that's $2,500, and you get 6 different interactions you're going to videotape that interaction and put it on YouTube. Well, I just videotaped me with a client who's paying me $2,500 with their permission, putting it on YouTube. You know how many clients are going to be wanting the same experience?
Yeah.
I literally just started a business. Chefs don't make any money. My friend Andy Little ran Josephine here in Nashville, and they, sadly, the neighborhood that he was in became very, very popular, and they tripled his rent. He had to shut down his restaurant.
Jeez.
And he's getting older, and he doesn't want to work in a kitchen anymore. It's a young man's game. It's a young woman's game. I literally just, Andy, if you're watching, you could do this, and you could do it. You could work 4 months out of the year and make 3 times what you made as a chef, leveraging your experience. But what's the key? The key is, and I will teach you how to cook. A lot of people will teach you how to cook. I will teach you to make 6 meals that blow people's minds, so you always have a go-to. And we'll do it in 6 sessions. And you know what? When we're done, we're going to eat it. That's the best part. By the way, Andy, I'll show up for that and work the camera as long as I get a bite.
I love that. That's amazing. Okay, so you want to create a website, and we'll keep it moving. And of course, you break down all the step-by-step of the website.
So that top is
in the book.
The problem you solve and the products that you sell to solve it.
Problem you solve and products you sell to solve it.
Make sure your website says that.
And so then step 4, once you have that set up, write automated sales emails that land clients while you sleep, and eventually that can be your CRM, is what's sending those automated emails. And as a reminder, we have a couple email-based tips on email marketing on the Think Media podcast, and we'll link other show notes and resources, as well as Coach Builder. I hope by now you can see it's an essential book to grab. I just finished it, absolutely love it.
We actually have emails in that book that you can cut and paste. And then I've written 52 emails that any coach can use to convince people that you're a coach.
That alone,
you can also use.
That's so priceless, and more than $20 or whatever the book is on Amazon. So, but what are the biggest mistakes people make when writing emails and following up?
Well, the biggest mistake is they don't do it. Yeah. So that's by far, that's 95% of it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a young publisher, I accidentally Forrest Gumped my way into the president of a publishing company in my 20s, and this is it wasn't pre-email, but people didn't do email marketing. We were actually sending snail mail. And the company became the fastest growing publishing company in our sector. And the boss, the sort of absentee owner, came in and just said, how are you doing this? What are you doing? And I said, well, I'm taking the 20% of our clients who are giving us 80% of our revenue, and I'm just writing them a letter every week. And it's going to their desk. And he said, Don, the last letter you wrote was about you going camping. It had nothing to do with publishing. And I said, I know. That's because nobody's reading them. All they're doing is they're seeing our logo and they're putting it in the trash can. And he said, well, how in the world does that grow in the company? He said, because they're not forgetting us. You've got to send something out week after week after week with your name or your logo, the name of your company, the name of your brand. I get text messages once a day from Hank's Belts. Hank's Belts. Yeah. By the way, I'm not sponsored by Hank Belts. Although, send me a free belt. I'm giving you some promo here. I bought a belt for my father-in-law for Christmas, and great belts, and they started texting me all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need a belt. You buy one belt. I've got 5 belts. And then I realized, you know what? I actually don't have a black dress belt. And so I bought a black dress belt. And then I realized, well, I could actually get this other guy a belt. This is kind of a cool belt. I got another belt as a gift. Then they're having a 40% off sale on belts I don't need. That'd be a great email. 40% off on a belt you don't need. Yeah. We'll sell. By the way, that's free. Yeah. And I ended up looking around. I'm like, I don't need this belt, but I really have 40% off. So only $100, $60. They got another, $400 or $500 out of me because they reminded me they exist. Mm-hmm. And the reality is people will forget that you don't exist. They will forget that you exist if you don't remind them. And so that's the importance of getting those emails out. The actual email copy is not as important as you think. It's the, hey, I exist, hey, I exist, hey, I exist. Because people don't buy from you when you email them. They buy from you when they have the problem that your email offers a solution to. And the reality is, for 6 months out of the year, they don't have that problem. And 1 week after 6 months, they do. And if you don't send them an email in that window, you're not going to sell anything. So it's a percentage game, and you want to be in touch with people all the time.
So strong. And I think about all the text messages that I get, reef sandals.
and you don't unsubscribe.
And I don't unsubscribe, and I'm paying attention. And then when the sale hits, that always gets my attention. I'll look over, and I get sandals I don't need.
Or your flip-flop falls apart, and now you need it.
That's a good point.
And they text you right then.
It's 4th of July is coming out.
That's the artificial intelligence we need. When the flip-flop falls apart, email Sean.
Yes. So step 5 is create a marketing funnel and a product ladder.
And we talked about that a little earlier, yeah.
So just define at a high level before step 6, what is, though, a marketing funnel? If you were kitchen table talking to a family member, like, what? A marketing funnel?
Relationships work in 3 phases. All relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, relationships with brands, relationships with politicians, they all work in 3 phases. Curiosity, enlightenment, commitment. And they go in that order. And you can't get the order wrong. Curiosity is when there's something about you as a thought leader, as a person, as an individual, that I sense could help me survive. So Sean knows a lot about YouTube. I really want to crack this nut. So there you go. I'm now interested in Sean. Sean, you're a great guy. You're an amazing person. They're not interested in you. They're interested in the wisdom that you have that can help them survive. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons we want to lead with that. Now that I think Sean might have something that can help me survive on YouTube, I'm not going to buy anything from him. What I'm actually going to do is see if he's trustworthy. See if my suspicion is true. So I'm going to watch some YouTube videos. I might download a lead generator. And when I download a lead generator, by the way, I'm getting emails maybe every week from you that is continuing to enlighten me about how you can help me survive, what it looks like, what it costs. I'm in the due diligence phase without even knowing it. And then you enter into the commitment window. And the commitment window is when the problem that Sean solves overlaps with him asking me to buy something to solve it. And so we have always got to be doing three things: piquing people's curiosity, enlightening them, and asking for the money. We always have to be doing those three things because we just don't know where our customers are, and we're doing some mass advertising. Well, in order to do that, you create a marketing funnel. You create lead generators that capture the email. Something about your lead generator piqued my curiosity, so I downloaded it. You began to enlighten me. And at the bottom of the enlightenment, you said, P.S., by the way, we're running a 30% sale on this, and we'd love to have you. So you're always saying, will you go out with me, and will you marry me at the same time? It's how I got married. I just kept asking my wife to marry me. Finally, she goes, okay, you're a sad case. I gotta give you this. So, you're dating in order to get to know somebody, and you're asking for, their hand in marriage. It's all relational. Everything's relational. I say that as an analogy because my wife sat me down after we've been dating for about 3 or 4 months. And I'm ready to get married. I wanted to marry you 2 years before we ever started dating. I'm done. And she said, Don, you know what? You're a quality time guy. And I thought she was being nice. She was actually correcting me. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you just know what you want very quickly. It doesn't take you very long. You always make fast decisions. She said, I want you to understand, I'm a quantity time girl, meaning it's going to take you a minute. Years later, I thought that was just such a funny anecdote in our marriage. But later, I was looking at data from my business, and I realized that 85% of our orders were coming a year after somebody gave me their email address. And I realized, oh, these are quantity time buyers. 85% of buyers are quantity time, meaning if you're not emailing me every week for a year, you're going to lose the order.
Wow. That's a profound insight. This is a masterclass, and I'm really appreciating you breaking this down. And before we go to step 6, you also say build a product ladder, and we touched on that. The product ladder might be a way to engage free, lower ticket.
Yeah, half of the things that you create are actually free, but they're also not demanding your time.
Yeah.
So, and when I say free, they're giving you their email address, which I put the economic value of an email address at about $35. In other words, the psychological money that I'm giving you when I give you my email address is $35. I will part with my email address about as willingly as I'll part with $35. So let's not think that this isn't a sacrifice on the part of our customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it can go up, and if they're getting your time, that could be higher ticket, which brings us to step 6, set realistic business goals and accomplish them. What types of goals should we set, and how do we know if they're realistic?
Yeah, I give you several categories of goals to set for your coaching business in the book, but let me give you 2 that are really important. The first is the most important, and that is lead measure goals. Lead measure goals are how many people downloaded my free PDF, how many people watched my YouTube videos, or better, how many YouTube videos did I create, quality YouTube videos did I create. If I want to build a coaching business, I'm just going to let the money take care of itself. What I'm actually going to measure are the number of lunches that I have with potential clients, the number of email acquisitions that I get, the number of emails that I've written to put into my CRM. Those are the goals that I'm going to establish in order to get my business started. The money will take care of itself. If you do things that lead to orders, you'll get orders later. Don't worry about the orders. It's kind of like everything else in life. If you want to lose weight, don't set a goal to lose weight. Set a goal to get up every morning and go and get 10,000 steps, right? And also set a goal to eat less than 2,200 calories. If you just do that, the weight will take care of itself. I think it was Brian Walsh who wrote a book after winning so many Super Bowls with the San Francisco 49ers. The score takes care of itself. Never think about the score. think about the process it takes to win, then set goals within that process and you're going to be just fine.
Step 7, build or join a community to help you grow yourself and your business.
Yeah, there are 8 steps to build a coaching business. That one's the most important. Being in a community of other coaches is a greater predictor of success than whether or not you have a CRM, a website, a menu of products, a product ladder. All of that is secondary to being in a community of other coaches. But here's why. Because if you're in a community of other coaches, you're going to build a CRM, a menu of products. All of that's going to happen. But it's going to happen because we tend to behave like the tribe that we are hanging out with. It is the number one predictor of success. So if you can find, and all you need to do is find other people in your area who are coaching and buy them breakfast once a month. I remember, Brendan Bouchard.
Yeah.
Brendan used to live in Portland, Oregon, and Brendan had a condo that he didn't live in. It was a condo that he furnished that he used maybe once a week. He would get a group of guys together for breakfast in the morning. He would pay for breakfast. Then we would go up into his condo, and he would just say, "What'd you learn this week?" And he created a mastermind. It was all free. We were all learning an incredible amount, but it was actually genius of him to create a community of content creators. This was 25 years ago. How I don't know, he's got to be worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. And he put together a community. I was amazed in researching that chapter that it always struck me as odd, because I've been a big fan of psychology, that so many fathers and mothers of modern psychology came out of Vienna in the 20s through the 50s. So they were all in Vienna, the 20s to the 50s. And like an idiot, I thought, oh, well, there must have been something in the water. Those were the smartest psychologists. That's not true. There were smart psychologists in Australia. There were smart psychologists in the United States, of course. There were smart psychologists in South Africa. What made Austria different was 2 things: the university system and the coffee shops. They were meeting with each other, and they were threatened by each other. They competed with each other. They learned from each other. They disagreed with each other, right? Alfred Adler is going to disagree with Sigmund Freud. I don't think I'm mistaken to say my favorite psychologist, Viktor Frankl, spent a day with Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud launches this thing, and Adler completely disagrees, and Frankl says it's not pleasure, it's meaning. And all of a sudden there's a midrash taking place that launches the fathers of modern psychology. Think about this. In tennis, I'm a big tennis fan. Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Novak Djokovic are the top 3 winningest tennis players on the male circuit of all time. They actually accomplished, by the way, like Pete Sampras has won like 9 Grand Slams. Then it's 20 for Federer, I believe, 21 or something like that for, I'm going to butcher this, for Nadal. And then Novak, I believe, is right now at 23 or 24. And I hope he gets one more, because then he passes Margaret Court as the greatest tennis player of all time, undisputed. And I like Novak. They all did it at the same time. I think, now think about that. The scarcity of the actual Grand Slams available while they're doing it at the same time. So Pete won it with no competition. The greatest players of all time, the 3 of them, are playing in the exact same season, competing at the exact same tournaments.
Wow.
But I think you remove 2 of those, and the number 1 players probably got 10. Because it was the competition that forced those 3 guys to say, winning is scarce right now. A Grand Slam victory is scarce because those 2 powerhouses are trying to take it from me, and they all upped their game. If you want to be a 7-figure business coach, get in a room every week with somebody else who's competing with you, and you're going to do just fine. You're going to lose sleep over that.
Yeah.
And hopefully those guys all love each other. Yeah. Massive respect. And I feel the same way about Michael Hyatt and Dave Ramsey and Patrick Lencioni and John Gordon and Henry Cloud. I have dinner with these guys. I'd love to have dinner with Patrick. I haven't met Patrick yet. Yeah. But we sit and we talk about what we're doing and what we're sharing and what we're writing and all that kind of stuff. And I leave dinner with Henry Cloud. First of all, I think Henry Cloud is a savant. I will never be as intelligent as Henry Cloud. But I leave so inspired and wanting to do more and wanting to write better. So it's the community, I think, is the greatest predictor of success.
That's such a strong point. And as we land the plane, and I have one of my favorite chapters actually came after the 8 steps, but step 8 is then navigate the nuances of the client-coach relationship. And you say, master the soft skills of client coaching. Break this down.
Listen, the frameworks that we teach, the CRM that you use, the lead generators, that those are very helpful to you to build a coaching business, and some of those are helpful to get your client results. Their life will be changed by a human being. And I think this is the part that in the book that the coaches probably need the least, because they're actually good at it. It's why they're in it. They want to change lives. I want to be the guide that helps the hero win. I'm leveraging that transition in my life to do that. But I wanted to put it in the book to be able to say, don't leave your heart behind. At the end of the day, your economic objectives are not going to be fulfilling even if you hit them. You're not going to, on your dying breath, you're not going to say, if only I would have charged more. What you are going to say is, if only I would have been a better listener. If only I would have been more compassionate toward the people that I work with. If only I would have empathized more. If only, gosh, if I would have said such and such, they might not have made that critical mistake, and I should have called them. And so I wanted to end the book on that note.
So powerful. And our director of coaching now at Think Media, Brian, we are geeking out over that chapter.
Yeah.
And like even, a couple of the things you said create your own top 10 list, but never assume you know the client's problem, never assume the client understood your coaching, never break a client's trust. And just as it makes sense.
Wow, what you're saying now are all the mistakes that I've made. I'm realizing now that all I did was tell you don't do what I just did.
Oh, it's so powerful. And those kinds of things. And I love that you also talked about, you broke down percentages. You said, I think it was about 10% or 20% is the frameworks and is the information.
Yeah.
What 40 or 60% is the listening.
It's the connection.
Is the connection.
Yeah.
And
it's a human being in the trenches with me.
Someone in the trenches that maybe processes and listens, because we want to sound smart and have the coolest information.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the transformation is this EQ, soft skills side of things.
Yeah, it's the sugar that makes the medicine go down, right?
Yeah.
I will listen to somebody and take their advice if I know that they understand my problem and they're for me, and they can give me the best solution in the world, and I won't do it unless I know that person is on my side.
That's so powerful. Well, I have one question as we end, but I want to encourage, if you want more on this, Coach Builder is the book, and then we'll link that up in the show notes, and you can check that out. Anything else you want to mention before I ask you one final question?
Yeah, there's one of the biggest questions that we get, in fact, you asked it almost to start the interview, was what do I charge for my services? So we created a coach's pricing guide at coachbuilder.com. There's a little button that says, I think it's top right, get the pricing guide. You can download that for free.
Beautiful. So we'll make sure to link to that and everything else as well as Donald Miller's socials. And check out the previous episode. Was one of the favorites for many of the Think Media podcast community. We'll link that up in the show notes as well, which was based on one of your other books, How to Grow Your Small Business. Both, I think, will go down in Think Media podcast history as just essential episodes. And so thank you for your time today. But one of the things that really stood out to me was you wrote a chapter on the personal costs involving building a 7-figure coaching business. Yeah. And I'm actually just curious on your take on this, because what I loved about this is kind of like maybe setting a trajectory and having self-awareness. I think you've really delivered on the promise today of, oh, wow, it's practical to do 6 figures without a big audience, because if you're coaching a handful of people that you
6 or 7 clients, yeah.
Yeah, 6. It's wild to consider that while that being possible for those building YouTube channels listening to this. But I feel like with the entrepreneur gurus out there and viral TikToks of maybe a little bit of smoke and mirrors, a lot of people are flexing on social media. And this idea of being $1 million business owner just is like thrown around like it's common, thrown around like almost, I think that sometimes in social media you get into comparison, like if I'm not doing 7 figures. And I love that you took it from a place of count the cost of even doing that.
I tried to talk you out of it.
Yeah, and I like this. So break this down.
At the beginning of the chapter, it's something like how to grow a 7-figure coaching business. I've spent the first 2 to 3 pages literally trying to talk you out of it. And then I say, if you don't care and because you have no choice.
Yeah.
I have a 7-figure coaching business, not because I want one. I have no choice. I'm just wired that way. It's just in me. So I'm going to be miserable if I don't do it. And so now what I have to do is figure out how to mitigate the damage of that on my family, on my health, on my life. And what I say to you is, like, none of it's going to satisfy, the money's not going to satisfy you. It's just not going to, especially if it costs you as a father, as a mother, as a husband, as a wife, as it costs you that as a friend. None of that's worth it. So let's mitigate some of that damage, because you have to do it. I understand. I'm with you. I'm like you. Let's mitigate some of that damage. And now, let me show you how to do it.
Yes.
So because Sean, you and I have sat with people. I sat on my front porch with a gentleman who's built an 8-figure coaching business not very long ago, and super popular guy. People really loved him, and was not surprised when I read in the news that he had passed away of an overdose. But I wasn't surprised at all because it's just a hard grind to do it. And so it's also very enjoyable, extremely fulfilling, but it's just like any sort of drug. It can take you. And so I wanted to start the chapter just by saying, hey, this is not the normal self-help book. You matter more as a person than any of your accomplishments. And I think at the end of our lives, the accomplishments just aren't going to matter. What's going to matter are the relationships. So I wanted to start that chapter there and then say, okay, now, if you are with me, then you're actually the right person. If you enjoyed that,
Sure,
you're the right person to, let's keep going and let's figure out how to do this. But I didn't want to say it's great.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. By the way, it's going to fix you. Remember that stuff that your dad said? It's going to become untrue when you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So I started the chapter that way.
Well, and I appreciate that, because I do think that you got to know why you're doing it. You got to, self-awareness is a superpower. What are you reverse engineering from? But I definitely think we need a message on social media where I know a lot of people are underpaid, or there's definitely a lifestyle change between 60 grand and 150 grand.
Yeah.
But how big, and that's what the stats have shown us too. At a certain point,
I think the numbers now, I mean, inflation has adjusted everything, probably around 250, 275, that the studies have proven you can't get any happier. Or the money is not going to be a factor
and you getting happier.
Yeah.
Yet we can,
and that's for a family, by the way.
Yeah, for your entire household. Yet on social media, again, there can be so much comparison. I think wrong messaging. So I just really appreciate that. I love that you're anchoring it in self-awareness. If it's that mission, if it's that drive, it's that. And then how do you do it in a healthy way? And I really respect that about you, with your values for family and caring for your team. And it seems to be the sustainable pace you're building into your culture.
Yeah.
And all that stuff you're doing. But I want to encourage listeners, so great to pick up the book, because this is a path you can architect for yourself, and you give people a map to build the coaching business that is best for you and your family. That's not based on what anybody else is doing, but your race and your pace.
Yeah. I hope everybody has the coaching career of their dreams,
Yes.
I mean, I think as long as we're changing lives, we're going to be very, very fulfilled in our career.
Donald Miller, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
If you enjoyed this podcast and are ready for some deep dive YouTube strategy, just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to my 1-hour on-demand YouTube strategy class. You'll be looking over my shoulder as I share my best tips, and you can watch it on demand right now at thinkmasterclass.com.
30 years, it's always been one sacred gift, blooming with benefits. One purpose, to share that gift with everyone. What will be your one? Synergy, the real kombucha.
Try Crest 3D White. Finally, a daily whitening toothpaste for whiter teeth in one day.
Many people lost their channels, and they can't get it back.
Copyright law, fair use, online defamation, harassment. What are the legal things that creators need to know?
Like saying, ew, gross, that's not transforming a video. Really transforming a video is something different. Whoever's content you're using, they can come and claim it and strike you.
And what is fair use, and how do you do it the right way?
When I tell clients who are creators who want to use clips, I say,
What are some of the most common legal mistakes creators make?
I mean, there's so many things, we can talk about. Those are things that they can put contracts in place to protect you.
Today, we've got Tyler Chow, who's the creator's attorney, formerly a Hollywood attorney, and her YouTube channel is crushing it. You got to check it out with lots of insights into these legal issues. But besides all of her expertise in these legal areas, she also helps creators charge 3 to 6x more for brand deals, productize and really scale their creator businesses. So if you're brand new or you're more advanced, I think this conversation is going to be incredibly juicy. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Sean, thank you so much for having me. I am so honored. I mean, I've watched so many of your videos when I was starting my YouTube channel, so this is sort of a dream come true for me.
Well, I appreciate your kind words, and thank you for adding so much value today. We actually surveyed our audience on both channels, Think Media and Think Media Podcast, and also got some questions, and so I'm excited to have this conversation. But let's just kick it off. What are some of the most common legal mistakes creators make? Some of just kind of the lowest hanging fruit things people need to know that could help them be a little bit safer.
Well, you hinted at it. I mean, creators should really think of themselves as a business. Do you have an LLC? Do you have trademarks? Do you have general liability insurance? If you have editors, even if they're independent contractors, do you have them under contract? Because if you don't have something that says, everything you create for me is owned by me, the results and proceeds are owned by me. If you have a falling out with that editor and they leave with your content, they could say, oh no, but that's mine, or I learned some editing style, like some secret, thing that you do, and they take it with them. If you don't have a piece of paper that says that they can't take that with them, then it's just a world of hurt, in terms of who owns it. I've had clients who have this happen to them where editors leave and they say, oh no, or they try to claim ownership of the channel by saying, oh no, but I made you. I edited from day one. And so those are things that I can put bumpers around. You hire an attorney, they can put contracts in place to protect you. So those are sort of kind of like the low hanging fruit. I mean, there's so many things, we can talk about defamation insurance. Like if you have, any kind of reaction channel, or you even give reviews, right? Like even if you're reviewing products, you could potentially get sued for defamation if you hurt, we've seen this, right? Like I don't want to name who they are, but they give reviews and it totally tanks a huge product. And then you're like, wow, you just killed millions of dollars for us. Now what? Do they go after that creator? They could, maybe, if it's not truthful.
So let's unpack some of this. Let's go with the LLC thing first.
Okay.
What would your advice be if a creator's further along? They might be it's overdue. Like they've got some editors for them. They don't have the right contracts with those editors. They're just operating off of no entity, just their social security number if they're in the US. So they have like no protection. Like for sure they need to probably set up an LLC. But let's talk about like a brand new creator or a small creator. They're going to be editing themselves. They're doing it as a hobby. They're hustling and just kind of like trying to get monetized, or they're at a stage where a few $100 are coming in a month from ad revenue, a few $100 a month are coming in from affiliates. Like, what's that stage that you recommend someone start an LLC and think that way if it's still kind of a hobby and it hasn't crossed that threshold? Or do you think for protection, it's almost a day one thing they would need?
Gator Light, rapid rehydration with a specialized blend of 5 electrolytes.
Last month's massive solar flare added a 25th hour to the day. Businesses are wondering, what should we do?
I'm thinking company-wide power nap.
Anything can change the world of work. From HR to payroll, ADD designs for the next anything.
Sometimes it takes a different approach.
Great. Let's go with that one.
To see the possibilities all around you. At Capella University, you'll you'll learn in-demand business skills relevant to the career you want. I saw people who needed me, and I helped them.
I have to do this. My family's in trouble. You're on my train.
Just you and me.
This is how I usually calculate it. I will ask, right? Even a young creator, do you own a house? Do you have a 401k? Like, do you, currently work and you own assets, right? If you own assets, then you should think about it from day one. Now, if you're a young person, and you don't own anything and you're really only making a couple $100s, I really think the kind of threshold is like $2,000, because I think to do an LLC, it costs maybe $500 to $1,000. If you do it properly with an attorney, you could do it yourself. By the way, you could file it for a couple $100s by yourself if you're wanting to just go on. I'm in California, California Secretary of State. You could just do it. The one other thing that I forgot to mention that's tied to the LLC is you need to pay taxes. I'm really, really worried about so many creators out there who are making a ton of money. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I get to keep all this cash. You don't get to keep that. That's just delayed and sometimes delayed with penalty. So that is also another thing that I really recommend is having a good CPA. And that's a big request. The biggest requests I get right now are referrals to CPAs and insurance brokers for media insurance, because of what's happening with CoffeeZilla right now, getting sued by Logan Paul and his defamation, his errors omissions, which is also called media insurance. He went and bought it a few years ago, thought he had defamation coverage because that's literally what he does, right? He needs that coverage because he's always talking about other people and bad actors. He got sued. He tendered it to his insurance company and they said, oh, but you don't have defamation coverage. His broker completely failed him because he didn't get him the proper insurance. So I think, does that answer your question? I mean, the LLC is like, if you're making some money, because here's the reason for an LLC. It's to protect your assets, right? So if you get sued and you have an LLC, it only touches the assets that are in the LLC, which is usually not very much, right? So maybe some cash flow, sometimes it's a few $1,000s. But if you own a home or you have a 401k or maybe your parents left you, real estate, those all can be touched in a lawsuit. If someone sues you, they're going to come after those assets. And so do you want it kind of protected behind this veil that the LLC provides for you?
So let's unpack a couple things deeper. So I love the LLC advice. If you're sitting on assets, you definitely need it. Or if you get to around $2,000 a month, sure, give or take, definitely get some professionalization to your creator business, your online business, get an LLC set up. And then you might want to consider insurance. You mentioned the CoffeeZilla story. Maybe take a few steps back to just frame the context of what happened and how you're pulling principles out of that we can learn from in regards to protecting ourselves with insurance, defamation, things like that.
Sure. So a couple of years ago, Logan Paul launched this product called CryptoZoo, and it was supposed to be like sort of a game that you could play and you could hatch eggs and the eggs would give you money, and it sounded really cool. But as more and more time went by, it's just never launched. So millions of people lost millions of dollars, right, giving him money. And it's a volume proposition. Probably each person was like 500 or 1,000, and it just ballooned into this huge amount. CoffeeZilla, is an investigative YouTuber, and he does these kind of very big, very in-depth investigations that take months. He interviews everybody. He's very thorough. He's very, very precise because he doesn't want to say something that's not true, because truth is a defense in defamation. So Logan Paul even came out and said, oh, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. I'm definitely going to refund people. I'm still going to launch the game. It's a year and a half, almost 2 years later, the game is still not launched. So CoffeeZilla, I think he left it alone. And then Logan Paul filed a complaint. And this is what he did. He filed in federal court, which does not allow for anti-slap motions. So anti-slap motions say that, public figures if they get sued, right? Like, well, they have less protection, right? Because they're a public figure. They don't have the same rights of privacy that, like our family members, right? Like my husband would have much more right to privacy than I would, right? Because I'm on camera, I speak out of different places. But a really famous person has less protection. So anti-slap motions were basically put into place so that people, their freedom of speech would be protected, that they could bring things against famous people and not, worry about getting in trouble. Anyway, if he had filed in state law, CoffeeZilla could have filed an anti-slap motion and said, I have my freedom of speech. I can say these things about you that are true, right? They're not untrue. And he could have gotten the
Students, they are going out and changing the world.
I am constantly amazed at how various people have changed my mind.
They're building networks across the globe and across industries.
Take the news and just do it.
Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds makes for a wholly amazing, wholly delicious experience that's, well, wholly Hershey's. Just for Men gives you your strongest, fullest, thickest looking beard yet. Mustache and beard, now with keratin. In just 5 minutes, score your best beard ever. Just for Men.
Whether you're planning a vacation getaway or a weekend escape, go wherever the road may lead in any car you choose. Take advantage of all your car rental benefits as a AAA member.
dismissed. But because it's in federal courts don't have anti-slap motion. And Logan Paul has very deep pockets. As we know, Prime has done very well. I mean, it's gone up and down, right? Maybe not so well now, but it'll probably do better now that they launched Lunchly. But I think, and so CoffeeZilla went to his insurance and said, okay, I have this defamation claim. Protect me. Pay for my attorneys. And they're like, no. You don't have defamation coverage. So now CoffeeZilla is going to have to probably pay 6 to 7 figures in legal fees because it's very expensive to defend yourself. It's very cheap to file a complaint in the US, and that's the beauty and nightmare of living here. You can sue and be sued by anybody. And so I think this is a cautionary tale as to why you should have media insurance. Make sure that it covers defamation. I mean, I actually am, if I have advised 2 clients this week talking to them about defamation because they are big channels and they do reaction videos. And reaction videos are really interesting because people think, well, it's fine, right? But it's really not fine. I mean, YouTube will allow copyright strikes if you use someone else's video, and YouTube just doesn't get involved. They have you figure it out, right? So I could put it, anybody could put a copyright strike on you, and then you have to go figure out what to do with that person that put the strike so that you can get it removed. I mean, we're getting off topic, but so that's kind of why every reaction channel or people who do reviews should have media insurance.
This is especially relevant if you're talking about other people, which is a huge niche. Reaction videos, people reacting or talking about celebrities or in all kinds of different niches. And one of the things that maybe they pick up on the street is like, well, if I say allegedly, then I'm all good. Is it enough to just say allegedly? And sometimes they're like, they'll put it on visual on the screen, Dogpack 404 talking about Mr. Beast, of course is going to throw in allegedly. Is it allegedly enough?
I don't know about enough, but it helps. I say allegedly a lot as an attorney, until it's been proven in a court of law and by a jury or judge, like you can't really say this person is X, Y, and Z. You can always say it's my opinion, right? That also helps. But I always tell my clients, try to stay with the truth. If you really stay with the truth, then if you do end up getting sued or go to court, then that's your protection, right? This applies to fair use, right? People just slap fair use on videos thinking, oh, I can use this person's video because I put fair use on it. But actually, fair use is a defense in litigation. Like, it's when you get sued, you can try to explain it. But fair use is very complicated. There are so many elements to it. It usually has to be educational. It can be a satire. It really has to, you can't make money from it, which is a hard case for most YouTubers because their videos typically, you know, if they're monetized, makes them money. And so that's a hard defense to have, right? Unless, and I think maybe that's why Dogpack allegedly states that his videos are not monetized, right? Like he's turned off monetization. But I know there are tools out there that can check, but maybe that's why he turned off monetization as well, because he wants to use that as a defense.
Well, I know that this conversation can evolve. I do want to talk about copyright and fair use more, but if we're now talking about insurance, and depending on your niche, even if you're a tech reviewer or a product reviewer of any kind, there's the case of MKBHD talking about this, I think, Rabbit AI tool or whatnot.
Yes, that was what I was hinting at. I didn't want to call him out, but yes, that was what I was talking about.
And his honest review, truthful review, may or may not have tanked the product. There was also many other reviews. He's just, by and large, the largest creator probably speaking on it. So that speaks into, if depending on the size of your channel, and that's, I think some creators might be thinking about that. They're like, well, I'm not MKB PhD, I'm not CoffeeZilla. They have the same CoffeeZilla niche, let's say. They're reacting, calling out scams, or they're doing something like that. Or they have a tech channel, or they're doing some other product reviews, health products, other things. You want to be thinking about some right insurances, including defamation, again, at almost any size of channel?
I think so. I mean, you know, I think there are channels out there that probably don't have to worry about it, right? Like, I could imagine there's some drawing channels or like bullet journal, like very kind of neutral things I feel like are fine. I don't tell everybody to get media insurance. I really have to kind of look at their content and their channel. And I think the advantage of also being a creator myself is I understand this business really well. It reminds me, I need to tell you my Taylor Swift story in a little bit. I had a client come to me wanting to do a Taylor Swift thing. So maybe we can loop back to it.
Go back. I made a note.
But yeah, but I think there are certainly channels that don't need it. I think you need general liability, because general liability is just, and it's cheap. General liability is maybe $1,000 a month. I mean, a year, like depending on what state you're in, but it's very easy for most creators to have that. Media insurance, I think, gets to be a little more, maybe it's a couple thousand. But if you rise to the level where you are giving reviews on products or talking about other people, then really think about it. I bet you most of the bigger channels out there have it, but it's sort of a case by case, right? Like if you could be a small channel. I mean, I have clients who have like 100,000 or 200,000, but they're making six or seven figures a year doing other stuff. They have courses, they have products, like depending on what size your business is, because the bigger you get, you just have a target on your back, right? Like people, you're going to upset people, there might be people in your audience who don't like what you say or what you do or what you stand for, any of that stuff. And they can come after you to try to cancel you or sue you.
Post Malone Oreo.
This is Cassie. She never really paid attention to her credit scores until she got Credit Karma and used her scores to score more. Like a great rate on an auto loan or some more reliable wheels. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on. Download the app today.
Nuts.com is a snacking utopia. We have supplier relationships from all over the world. I actually don't speak a lot of other languages, but Gemini and Google Meet translates everything live. It just kind of breaks through all those barriers. It's just magical.
And so just landing the plane on this conversation related to CoffeeZilla, it's actually surprising to me. I totally understand how his broker didn't just fail. His broker terribly failed, because defamation insurance or media insurance would be like the most important thing, knowing CoffeeZilla's work. If he had the right insurance, then the insurance would cover the 6 to 7 figures, the potentially $1 million in legal fees that is going to happen in this situation, right? Insurance would cover it. And
well, there's always an asterisk, right? Insurance tries to not cover, like that's literally their business model, right? But if they do a evaluation and CoffeeZilla didn't do anything terribly egregious or grossly negligent on his part, right, where he like maliciously knew what he was saying was wrong, right? Like that's one of the elements that they have to prove with defamation, was like, did he maliciously say untruths about Logan Paul, which I don't think is there. Then they would have to cover it. Now, there might be a deductible, like could there be a $50,000 deductible or something, like, you know, before they will start covering, or 100,000, I don't know. Like every policy is so different, but because I used to work at Disney and Skydance and BuzzFeed, I had to review very, very big policies for media insurance. And so I kind of understand the scope of it. He has a claim against his broker. I think he's suing him. I think CoffeeZilla said in one of his videos, like he has a smaller channel right now called Void Zella. And so I think he talked about how he's suing his broker.
And rightly so, because again, if you pay a $50,000 deductible, but for $1 million of legal fees, like you're going to be pumped to do that all day long. And I did see him launch merch to help his community rally. And and in this situation, I think this is sometimes what might frustrate listeners and the public in general, is that when you're a giant, if you're Logan Paul or you're Mr. Beast, you have so much money and so much legal behind you, even if, right, and you're the expert, but even noticing how meticulous and scrupulous CoffeeZilla is and what he does or doesn't say and how he says it, like to your point, even if the end result is his innocence and his freedom from it, he was drugged through potentially $1 million of cost in the process, simply because of the opponent he's up against in this case. Correct? And so that's sort of maybe the fear out there, and the reason for the insurance, because you maybe would be shocked that some tech company gets upset because your product review went viral. And even though if you are still vindicated, ultimately you could face a lot of expense in the middle should this happen. Am I tracking?
Oh, totally. I mean, and it's sort of the reason why I left Hollywood to come protect creators, because big companies, big celebrities with deep pockets will always usually win, because they will just drown you in legal fees, right? And I've had clients who were completely innocent, right? Like the facts weren't even remotely there, but they had to pay $100,000 in legal fees just to get out and file for bankruptcy, right? Like that was actually the real reason they got out, was because they file for bankruptcy, and so show the court that there was nothing left to get. And those types of cases and clients break my heart. And it's why I'm such a strong advocate to getting kind of these really kind of minor, when you think about it, right? I know for most creators are cost sensitive, like $1,000 or $2,000, they're like, whoa. But like it's just the in case, right? Like in case it goes wrong, are you willing to have $600,000 or six or seven figures of legal fees? I mean, I told a client this week who's launching a big product, I said, you better put a legal fund aside, because we're going to get sued. But it's okay, right? Because if you're doing big business, you're going to get sued. I used to work at a private equity fund, and we used to get sued a lot. And I would get stressed out because I was a head attorney. And my boss was like, why are you so stressed? And I said, because we have like 7 or 8 open litigations against us. And he would say, well, if you're not getting sued, then you're not doing big business. And I think Jimmy is showing us that right now, right? He's a $700 million corporation, and he's getting sued left and right.
That's a whole nother mindset. If you're not getting sued, you're not doing big business. Before we move on, just going a little bit deeper in defamation, let's flip it. Okay. I know, and I've talked to in different masterminds of business groups that I'm in, that what if you're in the position of a former employee, or we've seen in different organizations, I think they said it was amicable. I don't think there was any legal things between, say, Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. or we've seen where maybe like a talent leaves or something. What if a former employee like makes a video or makes statements with lies and half truths about the company that they worked for? What would your advice be in regards to defamation or just ignoring it and moving on? I heard you say that Mr. Beast in your video will probably release a statement. To my knowledge, he has not yet. And I just wonder, and some people go, Mr. Beast's downfall is here because Dogpack has gotten maybe over 20 million views, if not more now. But compared to Mr. Beast's influence, you're like, yeah, that's a lot. And it is crazy. And among some circles, it's like, no, yeah, millions of people could be, Mr. Beast is exposed, like his true colors are out there. Perhaps, like maybe that's what we're seeing. But then when we think about the scale he's at, could he just ignore this? And so that's one case study, but maybe for the different size of a media company or something, you have like maybe a former employee make a YouTube video, which anybody could do now. Lots of BuzzFeed people did with lies and half truths. What would you maybe follow up with on that or advice regarding defamation?
Wow, this is a great question. I actually was writing a LinkedIn post about this. I have this great saying that I like to say, if I do my job properly, you guys will never hear about this. So I do a lot of PR crisis management for YouTubers. This year, I've worked on 2 big ones, and you guys never heard about it because I tell my clients, no comment is an okay answer. Now,
NyQuil Vapor Cool. It's NyQuil plus a rush of Vicks Vapors.
Kids can't hide anything from me. I'm home. Especially when they've been using toilet paper that doesn't hold up.
New Charmin Ultra Strong has a diamond-weave texture that's more durable and it cleans better, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Explore spring style in-store or shop online at alteredstate.com.
Well, Monsieur Solomon. Oh, I just got an online offer from CarMax to sell this mom van. This is the greatest day of my life. Oh, the saddest day of my life.
Another month, another Chewy box for my cats to claim as their own. But let's be honest, the real winner here is me. I have 3 pets that all have different food needs and preferences, and I just got all their food delivered in one order right to my door. They get the fun box, I get Chewy's unbeatable selection at great prices, no store trips, no stress. Head to Chewy to stock up on your pet's favorite food and spend all that extra time watching your pets play with their new favorite toy.
Now, most creators are like, oh my God, I have to make a video. I have to respond. I have to tell my side of the story. But here's the thing, YouTube has a very short memory. They're like guppies, right? Like, as you can see with Logan Paul, I mean, how many times has Logan Paul been canceled? But he just keeps coming back like a zombie that cannot be killed, right?
That's true.
He just keeps coming back. And I said in my video, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't say anything. It's really dependent on his team, right? His legal team and his PR team. I think the reason why he didn't come out with a statement was probably they knew this class action or some lawsuit was coming. And once you're in the crosshairs of litigation, you shouldn't say anything because anything you say can get used in a court of law, right? So I would say to go back to your question, right, about, well, what if an employee does this? And so there are two paths. Like you can go after the employee, send a cease and desist, like Jimmy did with Dogpack. They can ignore it and then just keep doing it. And then your other alternative is to sue him, right? But I said in a short video, I said Jimmy will not sue him because you know why? Because Discovery releases information on both sides.